Hold on to your mug. We're in for a wild night.
Welcome everybody to episode 80 of Born to Be Wild, a Wild exclusive Hearthstone podcast where we have fun hanging out with friends, talking about the Wild format of Hearthstone and spotlighting members of the Wild community. I'm your host, as always, Nate Wolf. It is great to be back on another beautiful Friday evening here in Portland, Oregon. The weather is nice. Fall has officially happened. The leaves are changing colors and it is quite beautiful. We skipped last week's show because I was out of town and Hydra had a work thing and it was easier to just skip a week, but I definitely missed it. It's very good to be back. And of course, I am joined by two of my favorite people. Hydra, how are you doing tonight?
I'm doing great, coming at you guys from the greater Vancouver area. It's also a great day, and yes, you're right, Nate. It is. All the leaves are changing outside. It's getting cooler. It's getting darker in the morning. It's that perfect time of year where I drive to work and the sun is in my eyes the whole way, and I can't see anything. I hate that part. But other than that, I'm doing great. I missed everybody. It's great to be back after our little break. And yeah, I'm really happy for, what we've got coming up this episode, and I'm ready to go.
Should be a lot of fun. And of course, welcome back to the show, Electric Sheep City. How are you?
Hail and well met. Greetings from the city of Electric Sheep.
How you doing, man?
Nice.
So far, so good. Ready to hang out and listen to our very own Goliath the Dwarf spin us a yarn.
Yeah, I'm very excited to welcome back resident Loremaster Goliath the Dwarf. For those of you who are not familiar, Goliath has been on the show before, primarily doing lore episodes. Is something that's, I guess, kind of a tradition at this point, and it's just a lot of fun. And we were sort of anticipating having an announcement for the mini set kind of soon, and I think all of that got pushed back a little bit because of the upcoming Mercenaries release next week. But we thought, hey, what the heck, let's do it anyways. And so I'm excited tonight to be talking about some lore with Goliath. Goliath, how are you doing tonight?
I'm doing good. It has been bit of an intense week for me with work and everything, but I'm happy to be able to take a break from all that and talk about something that I love. And very exciting for this topic. It's one that I've been hoping for us to get to for a while. Thought we might get to it around the Dark Moon Fair, but events transpired otherwise. So we're playing just a little bit of catch up right now.
Yeah, definitely. And so when we had talked to I guess let the cat out of the bag here, we are covering the old gods tonight, lore of the old gods. But when we were talking offline, was like, hey, if we do the lore of all four old gods and kind of the ancillary, like the sort of fifth old god and like the kind of like half like little Ilginoth old god, like we'd be recording for like 4 or 5 hours. And so it was like, hey, we need to break this up. And so tonight is part 1 of the lore of the old gods, and we will be covering Yasiraj, if I'm pronouncing that right. Mm-hmm. And we'll have subsequent episodes in the future for the other old gods. And because we missed last week's show, we're going to do the normal show like we normally would. And so, yeah, I'm excited to be here with everybody, though. Yeah, I missed you all more than I thought I would.
Yeah. Well, let's see what everybody's been up to while we've been gone. Let's start with you, Nate. What's been going on in your life?
Yeah, so we went to California last week to visit my in-laws. It was a lot of fun, and I hadn't seen them in like 2 years because of all the COVID stuff. And so we flew there. I was really impressed with the airline in terms of their just like the safety protocols and stuff were really well done. And it was really good to see my in-laws. Was nice. They're getting a little bit older, and so really wanting to kind of spend that quality time when we can. So that was great seeing them. And I was there when the ladder reset. So it was really weird, like wanting to play but not having a computer. But I had my iPad with me, and so and then the first of the month landed on was it a Friday? But I was off work, right? Sitting there playing on the iPad, and so I played exclusively. I hit Legend on day 2 on the iPad, it was a terrible experience that I never wanted to again.
But were you in the bathtub?
No, regrettably.
Asking the real questions.
I was at the kitchen table, but yeah. So no deck tracker, number one, which I feel like I don't use the deck tracker very much for helping me play. Like I use it sometimes to help identify what deck my opponent is playing, especially to see whether or not it's like a Reno deck. And I use it for secret tracking so that I don't have to like memorize that stuff. But primarily what I use the deck tracker for is stats, like later to see, hey, what was my win rate? What did I play against? And I really wanted to get that stuff down. And so I recorded it all on paper, which is, what is the picture? I think I had 6 pieces of paper. It was a total of 98 matches. Like, this was atrocious.
Like some obsessive sports statistician or something.
Well, I wanted to see, like I've been trying to keep an eye on what does the meta look like, and it sort of morphed because last time, like when I hit Legend last month, I was using the same kind of odd quest line hunter, but the Demon Seed was everywhere because I did it early. It was before the ban. And you know the deck had a chance against that, and now that Demon Seed is gone, this odd questline hunter is like everywhere, and people are starting to hard tech against it, and like it was brutal, man. People are really learning how to play around it, and that made it significantly more difficult. Like I hit Legend with a 45% win rate, like it was not pleasant. Now, granted, I probably was not playing my best. I like, how do I want to say this? Like, I was like rage playing. Like, you talk about like a square peg into a round hole. Like that's how I hit Legend. Like I forced it. It was not good for anybody. Like, when I won, I was like, oh, yeah, I did. Oh. Like, it was not, you know.
Your in-laws are staring at, like, is that man playing a children's card game and, like, getting up and flexing? Yeah!
While obsessively scribbling on paper at the same time.
Yes. Yeah. It was interesting. So, I mean, what I ended up doing after the fact when we got home was I took all of my paper notes and input them into Google Sheets and like had all the data there. And then I showed Sheep, and Sheep kind of helped me clean it up. And we've got some little like charts and stuff. Cause I was trying to see, hey, what does the meta actually kind of look like, at least the first couple of days? And what was I playing against? And what were my good matchups and my bad matchups? I actually learned quite a bit from the experience. I mean, I'll get into it later. But anyways,
those papers that you have of what my wife used to refer to as my nerd papers, because I used to play on a tablet on the couch, and I would do the same thing because this is before I played on PC. I strictly played like on my tablet, and I just kept notes like crazy, and my side of the couch was just littered with chicken scratch notes, like exactly what you're talking about.
That's
which
so
is hilarious.
funny. Yeah, so I was just obsessively like taking notes. It was kind of nice though, because like I'd run across somebody, I'm like, oh, I know that person, and I got dunked on by like, because I was playing day one, and so I'm facing all the 11x people, and like got dunked on by a couple of big names. It was very demoralizing, but I got there, you know. So I was happy, but I was so relieved to hit Legend before like I had to go back to work, before we were flying back. Like I had the free time to do it, but it, like, I don't want to do that again. I think it would be better to be on the computer, be in like the right mental state where I could actually focus and play. Like when I was looking back at it, I had these stretches of like 5, 6, 7 losses in a row.
Right.
Like, dude, take a break after, like, you lose like 3 or 4 in a row, take a little break. You know, you hear people sometimes tell you like, just keep press and play, just keep press and play. Like that's what I was doing. But like I was like rage pounding play, and like I think I was playing pretty well, but it was, I don't know. Anyways, it was an experience, but I got there.
Yeah. I'm a firm proponent of, if you're not having fun, take a break, take a bath, go for a walk. Like, you know, take yourself out of the bad mental state that you're in, and games are meant to be fun.
Wait a minute, Hearthstone's
So-
supposed to be fun? I thought this was
Yeah, right? Mind
No.
blown. So I completely understand, especially, wanting to get there ASAP, wanting to push play to get up into legend. But whenever you're not feeling it, I'm a firm proponent of take a break and press play when pressing play feels good.
Oh yeah, no, I agree. I mean, so I hit at rank 59, which is good,
Really solid.
But because my win rate was so bad, I was decaying pretty quickly, and so I played more over the past kind of week to try to get it back into a good spot. I'm sitting around like 100 right now.
Nice.
Anyways, yeah. So let me see what else here. Yeah, I think right now I've decayed to about 150 by this point, but still, it's not bad. It's not bad. In terms of books and medias, like I've still been doing that Girl with the Dragon Tattoo series. I'm in book 2, like towards the end of book 2, The Girl Who Played with Fire, which is so good. Like the first one was really good, and the second one is just really good. Oh, my face. I thought you were saying your mic is cutting out, and I was like, wait, what? And then I read your lips. Thank you.
Sorry,
Thank you.
Yeah, I thought it was one of those, you've got something on your face for a second.
So the other thing that I've been playing a lot of Diablo 2 as well. I don't have my little screenshot, but like my paladin or my barbarian dude is all buffed out. Hydra and I traded some items, which was fun, and then I've been collecting so many like random items for other classes. I was like, I should just make another class and then transfer my items over to that class so they've got good stuff early game. So I made a paladin. I named him Sir Finley, which I thought was cute.
Yeah.
Aw, nice.
And it's been fun. I've been like watching old Seinfeld episodes, which is not really my jam, but it's been a lot of fun. And but my recommendation this week is Midnight Mass on Netflix. Just this show like blew my mind. It's I think 7 episodes, is it? Something like that. And it's just crazy good. If you can avoid spoilers, like just watch it blind. Don't watch the trailers, don't watch anything. Like just watch it. The story is incredible. The first couple episodes are a little slow maybe.
Yeah,
Very
pretty
kind of dramatic.
exposition
It's we're like setting the stage, the canvas. But like by the end of episode 3, like will just explode your brain and then like lines up the rest of the show into this just crazy, absolute craziness. It was,
And then buckle up, Buttercup.
I know absolutely nothing about this show, so it sounds like it's a good time to get into it.
Oh, you will love it, Hydra. You in particular will love it.
Cool.
yeah. If it's so Stephen King. It's like small town in the East Coast somewhere on a little island, and there's one of the main characters is like recovering alcoholic. One of the other main characters is like a reverend, and like it's really good. It's just really
Cool.
good. I don't know how to. I don't want to spoil it. Like
Yeah, don't.
you gotta go into it blind, but knowing like because you've been reading the Gunslinger books and you were reading Salem's Lot, right? Like you will enjoy this. I guarantee it. It was like I don't have words for it. Like it ended and I was like, oh wow, okay. Like my brain kind of exploded a little bit. It's like, how do you top this? I don't know. I just don't know. It was something else. It was just phenomenal. You'll laugh, you'll cry, mostly cry.
Get up and dance.
Yeah. Anyways, that's about it for me. I'm just really excited to hang out for the show tonight. I missed it quite a bit. So yeah. Anyways, what have you been up to, Sheep? How are you?
Yeah, we missed you as well here in the city of Electric Sheep. Also watched Midnight Mass. Last Sunday I think I watched it like from start to finish. So incredible. Hydra.
You watch it in one day?
Yeah, I watched the whole thing in one day. Hydra, you in particular will love it. So I can't wait for you to watch it.
All right.
Played a fair amount of aggro druid to about Diamond 5, up to Diamond 3, and then kind of back down to 5, up and down the thereabouts. I guess I peaked at about Diamond 2. It's still early. I haven't been like grinding it, but having a lot of fun. I don't think that Aggro Druid is like a meta breaker or anything like that, but it can hold its own. It's a lot of fun. I mean, it's me. It's Aggro Druid. It's a build of Aggro Druid. I'm gonna jam it and have a blast, right?
You just like playing with Hazelbark.
That's probably true.
You're not wrong.
And even if you're probably squelched by your opponent, do you find that you just emote for different occasions anyways?
You shouldn't wake the trees, child.
I'll take that as a yes.
Oh yeah.
No. You can't do that. We need all right, this is it. This weekend, I got to get the sound bar set up or whatever it's called, like with the buttons. And so we can have...
So we can play things like that. That would be awesome.
Yes.
Instead of having to say them ourselves in our impressions.
You know what we'll have to do though? Instead of the real sound, it's going to be sheep saying, don't wake the trees, child.
I mean, some of us aren't half bad if we have our moments, but
I'm sorry, dearie. Yeah.
Anyways.
So outside of Hearthstone, saw the doctor about my foot. Turns out I've got bone spurs. We had the X-ray and all that stuff. So I get to see the podiatrist on October 18. So I will talk with y'all again before I end up seeing them. So that I'm glad that I at least know what's up there, but it's also something that, resting and, stuff like that is nice, but it doesn't really help it.
Yeah.
So just kind of waiting until I see the podiatrist and we'll go from there. Been stretching and stuff like that, try and make it more bearable. But honestly, I've been passing out pretty early because in the evening is when the pain acts up the most. So I've been going to sleep a little earlier than usual. In media, outside of catching up on watching all of Midnight Mass in one day, I've been catching up on Star Wars books lately. So I read all the little Star Wars canon. I just finished Out of the Shadows this past week by Justina Ireland, and it was really good. Really, really good. So now I'm 2 books away from being caught up entirely. So the stuff I'm reading right now is what's called the High Republic. It's stuff that happened, like back in the day. Yoda is still there, but he's the only Jedi that you'll really recognize. And he's just kind of name dropped. He hasn't been, at the very least, as far as I've read in the High Republic, he hasn't been one of the main characters. So Tim Zahn actually has a lot of Thrawn books in canon as well as in the old legend. So it's really, really good. I've been enjoying that a lot. It's incredible. So I still, right now I'm reading Race to Crash Point Tower by Daniel Jose Older. That one's much shorter. I think the whole audiobook is 3 hours, 4 hours. It's way shorter. And then I have one more book after that, and I will be completely caught up just in time to, read more whenever they come out. Very, very shortly. Nice. That's a really fun thing about that expanding universe is that it continues to expand, and they keep on releasing new stuff and get to keep on expanding that story. So that's a lot of fun. So that's been most of my past weeks, plural, at this point. How have things been in Goliath Land?
Well, kind of similar to you in a couple of areas but I've been going to bed a bit earlier, not because of dealing with any pain, just because I did have a sore throat for a couple of days this week, and then some coworkers recommended that I start drinking elderberry syrup, and it's good for boosting your immune system apparently. And I recovered a lot quicker than expected. So a little health tip for you guys, I suppose.
Good.
But yeah, no, we're in the part where it's getting darker earlier, and so it's just harder for me to keep up the energy sometimes. The good news is that makes it easier to wake up on the earlier side if I need to do that for work. But I've also been really into Star Wars stuff because my dominant game for the past couple months has been the MMO Star Wars The Old Republic, which was actually my very first MMO before I ever discovered Warcraft, and I just kind of got some fatigue from the Warcraft gameplay style, and just like I'm still a lore guy. I still follow the story. I'm just not as interested at the moment in playing the game angle of things. So I decided to go back and get back into my first MMO love, and I've really been enjoying it. And they have a new expansion that's coming out near the end of the year. So I'm really looking forward to all that stuff, more lore expansion in that universe. If any of you guys have been following the food channel on the Discord, you will know that I have become a bit obsessed with baking in the past couple weeks. Yeah, I'm a guy who's moved out into my own place a few months ago, and took it as an opportunity to, while I'm the sole provider of my own food, may as well see how creative I can get with all of that. And I always was the person, like, baking my own birthday cake was one of my favorite parts of my birthday every year. And I eventually, as I grew up, got in charge of making all the family holiday desserts, like, the pumpkin pie for Thanksgiving and the Christmas cookies and all of that stuff. So I've just decided to expand that out, and thus everyone in the Discord has recently been bombarded with every time I make a new bread or rolls or
funnel cakes.
Whatever.
Funnel cakes.
Yeah. We'll make funnel cakes because I will not fry anything. That's though I honestly, over the summer for my job at the newspaper, I had to cover a couple of fairs, and that was the first time I ever seen funnel cakes in real life after hearing Hearthstone, and so that was the only thing that I could think of. All the funnel cake jokes. But yes, just before the show, I actually made a new one, a pumpkin peanut butter bread, kind of a sweet bread, So it's pretty good. I tried it. It's a unique taste, but if you like pumpkin and you like peanut butter like I do, it's worth a shot. It also made a ton, so I'm probably going to have to look for some people that I can offload some of it onto, which I gladly would if it were possible to give it to you guys through cyberspace here.
Right.
I feel like it would get stuck at customs into Canada for so long, it would never come through.
Right.
Yeah.
Here's the real question. Have you created any Chef Nomi grease fires yet?
No, but I have developed a bad habit of giving myself lots of little accidents. It's like, chopping things up. Okay, gotta be more careful with the knife there. Or, grating carrots on the shredder. Oh, there it goes. But my hands have gone through a lot recently of lots of minor injuries.
Oh, jeez.
And the occasional slippage of hot things from the oven. Like I mentioned, I got a burn on my thumb recently, and then I cut the same thumb with a potato peeler. You learn things through the school of hard knocks when you're still getting used to them, and
you'll get calluses.
Graduate eventually. Yes. I'll get into it, but I really enjoy it, and it's been a nice. It's honestly been a nice hobby that's helped me to enjoy my own meals better, because there's a satisfaction when you cook your own stuff. And also something that helps to keep me away from spending too much time at the computer, because I'm at the computer for work because I write for a newspaper, and then a lot of my leisure time is games or writing stuff in the computer or things like this. So it's been good for me in that way too.
Yeah. Hey, I do have one recommendation for you. You had posted some bread the other day, and it was a savory bread, but some olive oil with like a little bit of garlic in it, or I'm sorry, a little bit of vinegar in it. Really good, really good. You had mentioned you hadn't tried it before, right? But like classic kind of Italian. You maybe put a little bit of salt and pepper in it.
Yeah, I do like them making the Italian style of bread and the French bread. You know, you have the long crusty crust.
Yeah.
As though a crust could be anything else, but yeah, okay. I'll have to say, I have been getting a lot more into herbs and spices than I used to be, realizing just how much they can really add, and they can even be healthy for you. You know, a bit less on the salt and sugar, a bit more on the garlic and basil, and it can taste really good and be a bit better for your health too.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Oh. And so good with that olive oil and cracked pepper and Italian seasoning. Just
I'm tempted
that
to
in.
get myself a copy of the Hearthstone cookbook one of these days so I can merge the two together a bit more fully.
to a great taste that tastes great together.
Hey, sounds good. All right. Well, Hydra, what have you been up to over the past week?
We've been absolutely slammed at work, and this week just flew by. And then today, right at the final day of the week, before the weekend, it was just like a crapshoot day. I don't know what to say. It was just horrible, but funny and entertaining, but bad. Here's basically what happened. There was a safety concern that was brought up at work, and it was kind of being put on the back burner. And it was annoying some of the employees that management hasn't dealt with it yet and whatnot. And so one person decided to take it completely into their own hands, shut down the warehouse section of our company, sent out a mass email saying they were quarantining the warehouse. They sent an email out to all network users, but they CC'd all network users, but sent the email to our CEO and just took it. This is just an employee that's kind of just a laborer in general, right? And they just, I'm shutting it down, like took it all into their own hands and created mass hysteria. People were freaking out because they didn't know what the concern really was. People were worried because it was basically over mold is what it was about. Did
the person have 5 mana?
But they created mass hysteria. It was mass hysteria. Like it was, people were suddenly getting concerned. They were all, so I'm on the health and safety committee. So people asking me questions like what's going on. I ended up with one of the other managers having to congregate everybody and give like a big talk, a speech to them all and answering all their questions and like calming everybody down. And it was
Friends, co-workers, countrymen, lend me your ears.
Oh yes,
there's nothing to fear from the mold.
It was yeah. This mass panic. Basically, it was these products that we had bought from overseas, sat in customs like outside in the rain for like 3 weeks or something, and all of the boxes had collected a lot of water, and the cardboard started to mold up, like get mildew, and they stink and they reek, and they all got jammed in the warehouse, and it just, the smell was disgusting, right? Absolutely disgusting. And then these parts that are in the boxes were given to production to assemble, and they all reek, right? And they refused to touch them. And then the guy that's running the warehouse was just like, I'm shutting her down, sent out this mass email, but didn't say anything to anybody, just like shut it all down. Didn't exactly go through the right channels to do so, didn't have the authority to do so. Like it was pretty funny, to be honest.
Did people think there was a bomb threat or something? Or
yeah, like it was
an outbreak, or
if I don't say anything, if it's like we're having an emergency and I'm shutting everything down, it's like, what? I'm sorry, what now?
Yeah, and so just panic ensued, and it was ridiculous.
I'm glad you appreciated that.
I thought it was so funny. That email to the CEO and CC all network users. That was great.
Yeah.
So that happened. It was great. As for video games, I have spent a lot of time playing Diablo 2, probably way more than I should. I am in nostalgia land. I have leveled up my sorcerers to level 89 at this point.
Dude,
And-
wow.
That's the
okay.
year I was born.
Ooh, very nice.
Nice horns.
And yeah, so at this point, leveling is very slow, right?
Oh, yes, yeah.
It's you need millions of experience to move on to the next level. So like your experience bar basically doesn't move at this point. But so I'm now hunting for gear. I'm doing a lot of grinding for that, farming for certain gear and runes to make rune words to slot into my stuff. And yeah, I'm having an absolute blast. I've been trying to find some discords. I had no luck on Twitter. I put out a tweet seeing if anybody knew anything, but nobody seemed to know. I found one so far. It's a pretty sizable one, which is nice. But yeah, I'm just absolutely loving it. And same as you, Nate, I've been collecting gear for my other characters, right? And it's like, oh, grab this, grab that. Now that you have the shared stashes, it doesn't matter. You basically have unlimited space because you could give it to other characters, log into them, and then move that stuff into their private stash and free up your shared.
Yeah.
And Nate,
Sounds like a bag of holding.
It's been good to allow your newer characters to level quicker, because if you have better gear, like it's just easier to clear the dungeons and stuff.
Oh yeah.
What I want to know is, how do you name your characters? So I saw your screenshot earlier, and it was just so clever. I don't want to spoil it, but like, how do you come up with your names for your characters? Is what I want to know.
Well, obviously, I just named my sorcerers Hydra Sheep because I just wanted to take that name. I didn't know if you were going to be able to have duplicate names or not, because in old Diablo 2 you couldn't, right? So I first logged on and I snagged Hydra Sheep, but I have a necromancer that's named Danzig.
Nice.
And that's a classic that I've always done. I've always had a necromancer named Danzig because I just think that's absolutely hilarious.
Is that a reference to something?
Yeah, so Glenn Danzig was the and I guess kind of is now again the lead singer of the band called the Misfits. They're horror rock punk band they started in 1977. They went to 83. They broke up. They came back in the 90s, and they've had since then different lineups and whatnot. But he's rejoined them somewhat recently in the last couple of years to do live shows and whatnot. But if you've ever heard the song "Mother" by Danzig, that would probably be the first one that you probably have heard of.
Really my genre.
Basically, he's a dark, sort of gothic-looking person, and
I get it now. That's very fitting, and it sounds like a fantasy name.
And yes, there's the logo for the Misfits. He's the one who basically started that band with Jerry Only back in '77. But so I picked that name. I always have to have a necromancer named Danzig. It's just too fitting.
You know what? Like, he looks like a necromancer, though. Like,
he does.
He really does too.
Hold on, I'll put a picture of him up on the screen, and you will see what I mean. Like, this dude is like, hold on.
Yeah. I've gotten comments on it already. I had people friend me because my name was Danzig with a necromancer.
Look at him.
Yeah,
like,
did you see that, Goliath?
Holy. He looks like a walking corpse, like a fresh one. But
They call us walking corpses. That's actually a Misfits song.
That is.
oh my gosh, yeah.
Actually, I'm actually getting on second thought Dracula vibes a bit too.
Well, he was always like super buff too.
Yeah, jacked.
Yeah, he always was. All the Misfits, that's what they did. They all pumped iron, and there were these huge dudes, and they're like leather and giant spikes coming out of their shoulders, and they had the devil lock, which is the hair that goes down right in front of your face all the way down to here. It's like this spike that comes straight down.
Yes, that was the style, right? Yes.
The devil lock.
Well, when you say you play heavy metal, I guess it makes sense that you lift some heavy metal. You know?
Nice.
Yeah, actually, they the spikes that are on their clothes. Fun fact: they made themselves because they're machinists and they work in machine shops, and so they actually used like their lathes and stuff to create like the big spikes that they would put on their leather jackets and all that kind of stuff.
Interesting.
Honestly, sounds like a standard Warcraft Death Knight armor or something. You know, huge spiky shoulders that
yeah,
would
that's what
actually be impractical to fight in.
Yeah, yeah.
But would fit right in at a Danzig or Misfits console.
But yeah, so I've been playing the absolute crap out of Diablo 2. I'm having a blast. I've learned a lot that I didn't know when I was a teenager when I played the game. So I'm having fun with it all over again because
Wonderful.
I leveled up my characters. I would find gear, I would use it, but I didn't know what I'm learning now. And I'm having a blast. It's an amazing game. I'm really glad that they decided to remaster it.
Yeah, it's been a lot of fun. I agree.
I'm so glad you didn't have the disappointing experience of people like they realized they were looking at everything through rose-colored glasses, and like it's not as much fun the second time around. You're having an enhanced version than what you did before. That's great that you get that experience.
There's another layer to it that I didn't know about, right? And so I'm learning a lot more, like different crafting recipes to make stuff I didn't know you could do. Like I had no idea about a lot of it. So
nice.
It's really fun for me. As for other media, I'm reading the Dark Tower series by Stephen King, as you guys know. I'm on the 3rd book. I purposely put in the show notes, Sheep, that I've moved on to the 3rd book. As a little pun for you there. But it's amazing. I love how I'm coming across these things where he's tying in stuff from his other works. I'm glad that I've read a lot of his other writings because I'm like, oh my gosh, that's from this. And like, it's just the references to his other works is just amazing and sort of like making things more clearer on other things that he's written.
Oh, that's just cool.
It's real. It's just, it ties all this stuff together. And it's also the books are intense and they're comical. And it's this just huge universe that he's created. It's really, really cool. And it's unlike his other works, which I really like. It's not a scary book. It's just this big, no, it's a fantasy world that he has created. Yeah.
Now you beat I always avoid Stephen King because I'm not really into horror for the sake of horror. But if you're saying there's a fantasy world.
That is not horror.
There are some kind of like spooky moments, but it's, I mean, you know,
spooky can be fun. This is spooky month. Spooky is different from horror, in my opinion.
Completely.
Yeah, definitely not horror. It's this whole world that he has created, universe, really.
Yeah,
and it's pretty cool. So I'm enjoying that. I'm gonna just keep on powering through these. These books are amazing. I'll almost be sad when it's over.
How many are there?
Sheep, is it 7?
So there's 7. There's technically 8 because there's like a side book that came out well after the fact. That's kind of like some side stories, but it's, you know, ancillary and not really like part of the overarching story. It's ancillary material. So there's 7 main books.
And did he say that it's done at this point? Like he's not going to expand on it anymore?
He might at some point return to something. You'll see exactly why and how.
Okay. It's gonna take me a while.
Finish it up.
But yeah, because that's what I want to know. I'm like, is there an end game? Like, or am I gonna have to wait 10 years? Like, for another book?
It wraps up completely.
Okay, cool.
There's a very clear end to that story.
Okay, that's what I wanted to know.
Yes,
that's good. So excited to continue that. And in Hearthstone, I've been chugging along the rewards track with the 3 accounts. It's funny, I've been playing more on Asia than I have been on the other servers. I'm actually further along there. But all of my accounts are in the 90s on the rewards track. I'm about to ding on all of them to get my portrait. I've kept them all pretty even this time around. Which is really cool, but I will say Diablo's taken a lot of my time recently, but I've been making sure that I've been logging on, I've been playing my games. And here's a really cool thing that I noticed actually with the amount I've been playing Diablo, when I log into Hearthstone, sometimes I'll log in, when you're playing on 3 accounts, it can become tedious to complete all your quests and stuff. Wow. And so sometimes I'll log in out of obligation, right, to complete quests or whatever. But with the amount I've been playing a different game, when I logged into Hearthstone, I didn't want to log out of Hearthstone. Like I wanted to stay. Like I was like, oh yeah, I'm having a blast. This is awesome. So I think taking a little break to play another game has been really, really healthy for me and my relationship with this game that we obviously love so much that we do this weekly podcast about. So it was a cool experience for me to really, like, I was really, really enjoying it. And I was just playing suboptimal decks, like just for fun, like trying to complete quests and just having a really good time. I really have not dedicated a lot of time to the ladder other than on Asia this month. I think on NA and EU, I'm still like, usually by this point, I'm usually at least a D10, if not D5. But I've only done that on Asia so far, actually. So I'm gonna have to pull up my socks and jam out some games on the other servers and get myself up there. Last thing, that's the one thing, you never want to lose your star bonus. I have like the fear of ever losing your star bonus, right?
That is 100% accurate. Yes.
So like, while you can take a break, you still need to log in and like hit that minimum, right? But I
Hitting a deadline.
Yeah. I made a conscious decision that I wanted to learn how to play Ignite Mage. And I've picked up the deck. I asked Nate if he knew about a list. He gave me a list from NHL Fan. We can talk about the list a little later. I've taken it to ladder and I won my first game, so I have 100% win rate.
There you go.
Nice.
Which it was like, ooh, one and done. I won. But I'd like to see your guys' opinion on the list later when we start talking about that. But we have a lot ahead of us to discuss tonight. So let's talk a little bit about the listener sheep, the listener series sheep. What do we have got going on now?
Yeah, so we are into the 7th week, the semifinals of our listener series. So the challenge this week is with the whisper, chaos comes, which is a line that the hero N'Zoth says. So as you can kind of tell by the fact that it's a N'Zoth line, there is an Old Gods theme for this week.
Convenient.
So, yeah. The rules for this week. Pick an old god, Cthulhu, N'Zoth, Yogg-Saron, or Yashraj, and build 4 decks featuring that old god. You can use either version or both, or all 3 in the case of Cthulhu, because Mecha'thun counts. So you can use both or all 3 versions of that card to satisfy the requirement. So it must be the same old god featured in all 4 decks, but it can be like, N'Zoth, God of the Deep, or N'Zoth, OG N'Zoth, to satisfy those requirements. So it doesn't have to be the same exact card. It just has to be the same old god that is across all 4 decks. In order to limit meta decks, we did ban quite a few cards. So we banned Call to Arms, Celestial Alignment, Dark Bishop Benedictus, Dirty Rat, Expired Merchant, Ice Block, Ignite, Rigged Fair Game, Sage, Seer of Dark Moon, Ships Cannons, Quest Lines, all of them, Hero Cards, all of them, which includes the Galacrons, all weapons except for Counterfeit Blade, Necrium Blade, and Sphere of Sapience. And of course, the season-wide ban of Gin, Greymane, and Baku the Moon Eater. So quite an extensive ban list this go-around, because we wanted to kind of incentivize players to not just, throw an old god in and have fun with the meta deck, but to actually play old god specific decks.
Yeah, we were really trying, because otherwise it's like, yeah, okay, here's Pirate Warrior. Oh, and I threw in a N'Zoth, but I'm not gonna play it. And like, we've got a bunch of like little mini lawyers trying to find all the loopholes, and so like, no, we actually really want you to just play the old gods. And so I'm excited because our players will be casting the matches, and the decks, the ones at least for tonight, look pretty spicy. So I'm excited.
Yeah. So speaking of tonight, later this evening, we will be casting the match between our very own Schmoopy Daddy and our very own Jordan MG. So stick around. If you're watching live, that will happen right after the show. If you're catching this on the replay, then Nate posts the casted matches on YouTube pretty much at the same time that he posts the actual episode. So
yeah, like tomorrow.
if you're-
It'll be
yeah, and if you're listening to it, then check out YouTube because it should be there. I imagine that the other casted match will be there as well, but for sure the one that we're casting right after this will definitely be there. So
yeah.
that is it for the listener series. We get to dive into some old god action there, which will tie in nicely to the theme when we get there. But I'm getting a little ahead of ourselves because that's what's going on in the listener series. But outside of that, what's been going on in the world of Hearthstone this week, Hydra?
Bundles, bundles, bundles. I feel like Team 5 or the marketing team or whatever, whoever puts these out, they're really all over. We seem to have bundles all the time now, just popping into the store. I think we may be part of the problem because we buy them all the time. But we got...
I was joking last week because of the whole Blizzard lawsuit that like the timing was like Blizzard has an $18 million payout and there's 3 golden bundles on sale in the store, like both announced on the same day. And I was like, who do you think is funding this payout? Like,
3 golden bundles per category, so
Right?
6 total.
Yeah. So we got more. I received some in my shop. Nate received some in his shop. They weren't even exactly the same, so I don't know if everybody gets the same ones. We both had this tavern special here, which is 2 legendaries and 35 cards of United and Stormwind, and that's for $29.99. And then Nate got a Wild Bob's Bargain that has 40 wild packs and 2 legendaries for $29.99. And I received 2 legendaries and 35 standard card packs for mine. Yeah. So a little bit different, which is strange, and at the same price point, but in Canadian, so like $1 million. But your $29.99 ones
like
for me
$50
are
bucks.
no, they're $37.50.
Whoa.
Yeah. So yeah, but I don't know. These seem to be. I mean, when they're a good deal, they're a good deal, right? Like if you're playing catch up, you want a couple legendaries. Maybe your pack opening wasn't that great. These are guaranteed legendaries, right? So they seem to
stats for cost.
the good stats for cost. These are under $1 per pack, right? Like even like the wild one is insane, right? It's even better deal than the Stormwind one. 40 cards. 40 packs, I mean, for the $30, right? It's just
On
2
top
guaranteed
of 2
legendaries.
legendaries. Yeah.
It's madness at the Dark Moon Fair. But it really is just a really good deal. Did any of you guys grab any of these at all?
Yeah, I grabbed both of them. I had the same offers that Nate did. The wild packs was, a decent amount of dust, nothing really too special. But the tavern special, I got the Demon Hunter quest line in gold. So I only lack 1 golden quest line to have all of them in gold after that one. So it's the Paladin one. I'm not going to craft it in gold because like it's not good in standard or wild, but like I really like it.
Mm-hmm.
So I've considered crafting it in gold anyway, but I haven't done it. I haven't done it yet.
Yet.
How about y'all?
Wild is about inevitabilities. Everything will have a synergy at some point
At
in
some
like
point.
in 25
Exactly.
years or whatnot,
And I've had a lot of fun playing around with a Prince Liam and all 1-drops
It's fun.
questline deck. It's not good, but it's a blast.
Goliath, did any of these catch your eye at all?
No, I operate under a free-to-play mentality as much as I can. I only spend money when it's for exclusive cosmetics, like I'm going to get the Fairy Tale bundle when it comes out. It just appeals to my loves way too much. I'm a big fan of the classic Fairy Tale story tile, and having, Pirate Garrosh is going to be perfect for the Pirate Warrior deck. Anduin and Jaina just look so adorable in their Riding Hood and Prince Charming outfits. It's just like they all look fantastic in their own ways. So that's the sort of thing I'll spring for money on. But when it comes to just getting regular cards and packs, that's the sort of thing that I strongly prefer to save actual money on because I have bills to pay and stuff. And
you can grind those out. You can't necessarily grind out the bundle that they're going to sell of the hero skins, right? Like
exactly. I buy the things that I could only get with money, and I get a satisfaction out of earning my collection instead of buying it. I'm not saying that you're doing something wrong if you buy it. That's just a personal way that I have fun playing the game.
Oh, there's definitely something to be said. It's way more exciting to open a legendary or golden legendary when it's all free to play. Like, it's way more exciting. When you buy the entire expansion, you know you're getting it all anyway when you buy 300 plus packs, right?
Yeah.
We sure do.
I got a couple pre-orders back in the day, like Cobalts and Catacombs, because I wanted that card pack. Although what I did for that was I just got a lot of WoW tokens by saving up a lot of gold in World of Warcraft back then, and so technically I didn't actually spend real money. But yeah, that's a lot of grinding in World of Warcraft to be able to do. I also did it for like Rostakon's Rumble because I really wanted the Rostakon portrait. But the few times I've done it, when it came for the opening day and just opening pack after pack, I noticed it stopped being fun for me. And it wasn't as fun for me getting into the expansion with, just having everything and not really knowing what to do with it all. I like when, you get the one or two legendaries, sometimes 3 or 4 if I'm lucky at the beginning, and here's the challenge. What can I do to build around these cards here? Yeah, I get a lot of satisfaction out of that.
That's awesome.
Out of curiosity, I know all you guys are already dads. What did your wives think when you were talking about all your bundles of joy that you just bought home?
We've got this like unspoken agreement that when I buy stuff for Hearthstone, it's like the one game I play, so she doesn't care.
I got my wife a new desk, and so she was happy with the trade-off. I put it together. We're good.
Yeah. It's
like no comment.
I don't want to talk about it. My problem is like I have a hard time with self-control with this stuff. Like, I know I don't need it, and then I buy this. Like, I opened up a golden coon, and I was like,
cool.
I was like, rad. Yeah, I wanted that. That was, that's cool. But I wish they would stop offering this stuff.
That's the thing. They're gonna keep doing it because you keep buying it.
They're the enablers to your addiction.
Accurate. Anyways.
So true.
Yeah.
So aside from a golden coon, did you have any other really good pulls, Nate?
No, it was a bunch of dust. So here's what happened. I got a bunch of dust, which is great. No other golden. I got a couple golden cards. That was the one golden legend, I think. And the rest were normal, but I had so much dust sitting around that I basically crafted like golden like Mali Druid, which was like it took like I was sitting on almost 30,000 dust, and it took basically all of it. Because there's so many legends and epics, and like I had about half of it, but like crafting a golden epic is 1,600 dust. And so like celestial alignment and branching paths and some of that stuff, it's like, oh. But here was my thought, right? Someone was asking in the Discord earlier this week, like, hey, I was thinking about trying to fill up my collection, and is there something that I should main? Should I main a class? Should I main, whatever? And someone responded like, find what you like to play, and maybe I kind of like this advice was like, maybe you want to main like a style, whether it's aggro or combo or control or whatever it is, or like Reno decks or whatever, because a lot of the cards will carry over. And I kind of found the same thing true for gold cards, where it was like, all these pirates, like we use them in all the same decks, whether it's Pirate Warrior or some of the, the aggro decks or Odd Rogue or Kingsbane or whatever. And so I remember like I'd been playing a lot of Kingsbane and Pirate Warrior and stuff like that. And then for a little bit, a while back when I was trying to hit my 1K Rogue portrait, like I was playing Martian's Odd Rogue. And when I built the deck, I was like, oh, I already have this entire deck gold except for like 2 cards. And I was like, okay, well, may as well craft them. But like it's the same set of cards that you kind of are using like over and over.
And it's wild, so you have it forever.
Yeah, and
exactly.
so my thought is like, well, if this card has been a staple for a couple of years, like it's probably going to be a staple for a long time, and so it felt like a safe craft. So I didn't feel too bad. I don't have any dust left, but that's okay. That's okay. I don't mind. So yeah. Anyways,
What's dust for if not crafting?
exactly right.
Yeah.
So
So that's really cool, and Mally Druid's pretty sweet. So
yeah,
good for you, man. That's pretty cool.
yeah. It's fun.
So up next we have basically only a few days left, and Mercenaries is finally going to be released on October 12th. That's Tuesday, if I'm not mistaken,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, but
So yeah, there was a new video that Hearthstone actually released about Mercenaries. It's 4 minutes long, and it's actually really informative. I found I almost found that watching this almost told me more about it than like the live reveal did, and it was
The exact same thing.
and it was 4 minutes long.
They should have showed this one back then. It would have solved everything, right?
The
I
live reveal
honestly
was
think,
like someone
Yeah.
trying to who was going on a ramble about things, and then the teacher takes the paper and or the editor takes it down, distills it to its essence, and you get like the paragraph that someone was using several pages to try to come across, and you finally get the thesis statement right. That's what this video feels like to me.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it was. I liked it, and if you look at the original reveal stream with on YouTube with the thumbs ups and the thumbs downs, there is more thumbs downs on the reveal stream than there is thumbs up. It's the reverse on this one.
Wow.
yeah, the first one was ratioed for sure. I really feel like they took a lot of the feedback, which the thumbs down was indicative of the feedback that they received, and they took it to heart and realized that they didn't give the information that they intended to. And I think that the video that they released, on the 4th, 4 days ago, from time of recording, that was what they kind of intended to get across, that, here's what Mercenaries kind of is, and here's kind of how you play. And it's much more, it's shorter. So it's much more bite size. You can actually watch it really quick and get a kind of handle on what it is, but also you get a better handle on what it actually is. So I think that they took that the feedback that they got, found the constructive elements of it, and
Yeah.
actually gave us something that, people who didn't read all of the info, like I read it.
Yeah.
So, not everyone's going to go in and read everything. People, whenever they're watching a video, expect the info to be there. And here's where they actually gave the info in the video. So I think that's a really good thing that they did, and I'm glad that they got there in the end. So
Yeah.
I'm really excited to play it.
Almost
Oh, me too.
wondered if in the initial reveal stream that they had, if maybe they weren't like it could have been the idea of not showing too much to let us experience it ourselves when we're playing it. Maybe they were holding back on purpose, but we're like, show us. Like, we want to see.
Built it up for so long. We wanted to know what we were getting
like
into.
it may have been on purpose, really. Like, well, like we want them to experience it, and then we were like, no, you guys told us about this like a year ago. Like, we want to know.
Well,
yeah.
And I think that the fact that there was so much information in the different articles that I don't know that was necessarily the case, that they were, just trying to hold it back for people to experience it themselves, because the info was there. You just had to read it. It wasn't in the video.
You had to pause it, and you had to like watch it, and then you had to like take notes. Like the screenshots. Trump was great for breaking down stuff like that. So was Regis did that as well.
Yeah, so I was at work whenever the original video was airing, right? So instead of watching it live, I read the different patch notes and the different articles about it that they put out, right? And so reading it, I was really excited. I was like, this sounds dope. And then everyone was like, blah, 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 rabble, rabble, rabble. And I was like, why is everybody upset? And then I watched the video and I was like, oh, this is why people are upset. This video is terrible.
Yeah.
They did not look happy to be there at all. You are going to have so much fun.
I like the part where they're like talking to something through the portal, and it's like, anyways, and then like
you're gonna have so much fun.
It was just it was awkward. I know they're trying, and I feel bad, but anyway,
I would buy more bundles if I knew that it would be directed towards giving some of these people just maybe an improv class or two. That would make it a lot more bearable.
That's hilarious.
My only hope with this is since thanks Goliath, give me the giggles, is if they left the pre-order open after the game is released, if they left it open for a while, I would really appreciate that.
Even a couple weeks or something, right? Try it out, see if you like it, and then buy a bundle. I don't know.
So I think one of the things that kind of takes the sting off of that is that, and they announced this in the articles. I don't think that it was on, in the video, but the different portraits that are part of the pre-release bundles and whatnot are still available in packs, right?
Yes.
Like
they're not exclusives. That's true.
Right. So if you miss out on pre-ordering, then you miss out on, the good deal of the packs, but you don't miss out on the actual content itself. So if you were kind of holding back because you're not sure if you're going to like it or anything like that, you don't get as good a deal, price per pack, as you would if you're buying it later. But you don't miss out on any of the actual content itself. And I think that's important and something that was there from the very beginning. And
it should have been totally like all disclosure, front and center. You are not going to miss out on these heroes because I auto bought because every other like expansion in Hearthstone, you get the hero when you pre-order the mega bundle.
Yeah.
Right. And so that's the first thing that came to my mind. Like, oh my gosh, okay, I want Diablo. I guess I have to buy him.
Well, and it was like right when Diablo 2 was coming out, and then they're like, by the way, Diablo Mercenaries, and Hydra and I both just lost our minds, I think. It was just we didn't even read it. It was just click buy,
I think that misconception about whether they were exclusives or whether it was things to be able to get anyway, if that had been cleared out, there probably would have been a lot less accusations of greedy cash grab about trying to sell us all this stuff for a game mode we haven't even played yet. It's like, no, it's stuff that you have the option to get, but it's nothing that you will miss out if you do not get this.
Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah. Well, it'll be fun. I will tell you guys, this is the first time I have ever done this for a video game, but I took Tuesday off work. And it's just to play. Play Mercenaries. So, I mean, I've got all this time on the books that I never take, and so like, all right,
same.
what's 8 hours, right? So that'll be fun. I can sleep in, and then it'll roll out around 10 o'clock, and then I can play it all day, and it'll be fun. I never do this, but like I'm excited. So yeah, it'll be me and Gasu will be probably on Discord all day.
Yeah,
just
until
tempted me.
today,
And Blue Train too.
Sure.
Yeah.
Until today, I wasn't sure where I was going to be, like with my work, whether I'd be able to or not. But today, I got it far enough ahead that I took Tuesday off as well. So I'll be in the Discord with you, Nate.
You guys can't be ahead of me. Look what you've done. Now I have to do it.
Born to be mercenaries.
One of us.
My schedule changes every week because that's the nature of journalism. But I'll see if I can avoid getting interviews scheduled on Tuesdays. But I work from home and I'm very flexible anyway. So I'll be on a lot probably no matter what. Even if I have a bit of work to do, I can multitask. You know.
Yeah, I can't have it. I can't all day know that you guys are playing this without me. They will eat me up inside all day long.
And they'll crush you in the PvP.
Yeah, I'll queue into you guys. It'll just get destroyed. Anyway, that's basically it that we had for news. And we've got a big chunk of lore to talk about. So maybe let's dive into that.
Oh, yeah.
We do have some lore to cover tonight. Yeah, so very excited to jump into the lore of the old gods. Like we were mentioning earlier, we are going to break this up into separate episodes for each old god, but this is part 1. We will be covering Yasiraj tonight. I'm very excited. So I will turn the mic over to Goliath to kick us off here.
All right. So, just to provide a little context here. Do you guys remember the last show that I was on? We covered the origin of Stormwind, and I talked about how that one was, pretty easy because we only needed to go back a few centuries or whatnot to the foundation of a human kingdom. Well, for this one, we need to go to the very origins of space-time and the entire cosmos, so just a heads up for what we're in for here. So, basically, in the beginning, there was... before there was anything else in the universe, there was the light, just like this cosmic force of warmth and glowing goodness and life that basically, think like, just this vast, maybe think like the Aurora Borealis throughout the entire universe or something, but it's all gold. But then there were some areas that it kind of flows like a sea, and there were areas that it left a little dry, so areas that were dark. And from that lack of light came a force called the Void, the manifestation of nothingness. Maybe you've heard the philosophical idea that evil is just the absence of good. This is like a literal version of that within this universe. And so the void and the light clash because they're literal opposites. And actually from their clash, they create a sense of Big Bang and explode into the entire, creating the entire physical universe from the conflict of light and void. And so you have a bunch of different planes, parallel dimensions that come to exist. But the one that we're concerned with here is the one where the void exists. And you have these beings who form in it that are called the Void Lords, who want to break into the physical universe and consume everything. Because that's the nature of the void. It always hungers. It always wants to consume. Much like Nate's cat wishes to consume his dinner.
So true.
And they are never satisfied. And so... What's something that's unique and that you have to know about the world of Azeroth that most of the World of Warcraft story takes place on is that it's not just a planet like a hunk of rock that our Earth is. This is a world that has what's called a world soul inside of it, which is essentially a baby version of a vast cosmic being called a Titan, who are kind of like the protectors of order in the universe. And the Void Lords are kind of peering through from their side of the dimension, and they're like, if we could just corrupt one of those titans. They are so powerful, they could, let us into the physical universe there, and then we could eat everything. But titans are so powerful that the only way they can actually get to one is while it's sleeping, like kind of incubating inside of its egg, and they corrupt it that way. So what they do is all of the warlords pool all of their power together to briefly open this one hole into the universe, and they just flush into the universe. They spit out all of these horrible abominations of destruction and chaos that come to be known as the Old Gods. And basically, they just go flying through the universe, crashing into completely random planets. The Void Lords don't know what planets have souls and which ones don't, so it's just, go for as many as possible. And 4 old gods that we know of crash land on Azeroth. And so Azeroth does have a world soul, and basically their whole goal is that they drill, like that they stick their tendrils deep down inside, and over enough time they'll corrupt the world soul into being force of darkness and evil and all of that.
So when you say the ones that we know of, so there could be so many more out there.
Yes, out in the universe, there could be many more old gods on other worlds, and the writers could always technically introduce, you didn't know about this old god that was also on Azeroth, but that's future lore's problem if they decide to do that. For now, we assume there are these core 4, and there are other things that we might get into in future episodes that are not quite old gods, but also kind of. But we don't want to get too complicated here, because this is all really simple, right?
Yeah.
Are you following me so far? Do I need to elaborate?
Following you so far, is Cahoon also technically an old god, or is it just
He's the kind of strange exception there that I would explain, but that would go off on a whole other tangent that we don't have time for, which is the reason we're dividing into parts in the first place.
Makes sense.
Yeah, he's the kind of weird in between. But so essentially, Yasharaj, who is the one that we're talking about today, our big focus, is the most powerful, the largest of all of these old gods. Like they aren't working as a team. They fight with each other. They are manifestations of darkness and chaos and selfishness and consumption. Put a lot more adjectives and verbs in here. And so, they fight with each other for dominance just as much as anyone else. But Yasharaj is the undisputed most powerful of all of these. And they rule what becomes known to history as the Black Empire. They secrete these minions, which some of them are very bug-like. They're known as the Kier, and others are the Noraki, or what we know, especially from a lot of Hearthstone cards, as the Faceless. So these are literally minions that are just like secreted from the gross fleshy bodies of the old gods to serve them, and they build, as you can see in the picture that we have up here, like these massive monoliths and this empire of, chaos and darkness and evil, pain, suffering, despair. Again, lots more adjectives that we can throw in there. Just put in all the negative words possible, and you get the Black Empire and beyond. So yeah, this is the way that things are, and these are massive cities that are built around the old gods' bodies, actually. So like they are almost kind of serving as living cities for their minions in a sense. But then the Titans come along, and they find Azeroth, and they are like, holy cow, this is a really big problem. We sense there's a world soul down there. It's going to get corrupted. We have to do something about these old gods. But they have a little problem. The Titans are really, really, really big. And let me put it this way. As you can see, our current image here, we have a map that is showing the domains of the old gods in the Black Empire. If you guys look at the big purple area, that is all that is ruled by Yasharaj. So you can see that is the biggest section there because he is the most powerful. Also, you may notice the names of some of the elemental lords there. The old gods, when they crash landed on Azeroth, they enslaved the powerful elemental lords into becoming their top lieutenants, which is why some you get elementals who included old god thematics a lot of the time.
Okay. Yeah. So it looks like Yogg-Saron to the north, Nizath to the east, Cthulhu to the west, and Yasiraj kind of in the middle, and then kind
middle
of
and
down to
down.
the south. Yeah, but
Yeah,
making
yeah.
up kind of the bulk, and then you see some of the other elemental lords, like you're saying, Alakir, Ragnaros, Neptulon, and then Therazane, who I'm not familiar with.
Who really needs a Hearthstone card? They
Right?
haven't given
Yeah.
the last Elemental Lord a Hearthstone card. They need to complete the set. But I won't go on that tangent rant for long. I could go on that for a while. But anyway, and one thing you need to understand is the old gods are rooted down. They can't get up and walk around. They are planted right there. They're like a fungus that is spreading its tendrils down beneath the earth. They're very ingrained into the world. And but you also have the stalks that pop up, so that they have their disgusting tentacle, eyeball, incomprehensible fleshy forms that are above the surface as well. And
Yeah.
Yasiraj is right there in the middle of all of that.
Yeah.
Yeah, because they're kind of digging to try and get to the world seed. So hence why they're
Exactly.
planted
Which
in
is,
that
of course,
spot,
right
because
at the center.
they're digging.
Yes, exactly. And speaking of digging, allow me to create an illustration for you guys. Imagine that you have a sand castle on the beach, and it's infested with ants. You're going to have you are powerful enough, you could go in and just try smashing the ants, but you're probably just going to wreck the sand castle, aren't you?
Yeah,
That's a
would
good
be too.
illustration.
Yeah.
Probably, yeah.
It's the problem that the Titans have because they are so powerful, they are so huge. They could just go in and get rid of the old gods, but they're buried so deep within the world that they're afraid that they're going to do irreparable damage to the world while they're doing it, like uprooting the flowers with the weeds, so to speak, and then digging up the garden like they're like a dog, and the analogy could run away. But at any rate, so what they choose to do instead is to build smaller soldiers to serve as their lieutenants. These become known as the Titan Forged, and their leaders are the Titan Keepers. One of the Titan Keepers you're familiar with as a card, High Keeper Ra from the Mogu cultist. When you get enough and you summon him, he's one of the ones who is created, and there are many others, as armies to fight against the old gods. And so they do go to war against the old gods. They fight against the elemental lords, and but Yasiraj, when they try assaulting Yasiraj, he's way too powerful. He overwhelms their minds with visions of madness and chaos and turns the Titans' armies against each other. And so it's almost like an unwinnable fight. And so what happens is that the Titan leader, Amin Thul, decides that, okay, this enough is enough here. Desperate times call for desperate measures. And he does the thing that they were trying to avoid doing. He just reaches down his colossal Titan hand from the sky, just yanks Yasiraj right out of the ground and just tears him up in the middle of the air, and all of his remains come cascading down to the world. And it does
So metal.
it does get rid of Yasiraj. Little problem. The whole reason they didn't want to do it in the first place, it leaves a giant gaping hole in the world. And so here's the thing, you guys know about, you see the word arcane a lot, especially in the mage class. It's a spell class and whatnot. The arcane magic, bear with me here, is the literal magic life force, the blood of a world soul, in a sense. So there is this hole that is so deep in the earth, the magic is leaking out. It's like the world soul has a mortal wound that it is bleeding from. And so the Titans are like, we need to fix this. And so what happens is that they go and they turn that into a sea that is infused with arcane energy to kind of cap off the wound there. And that becomes known as the Well of Eternity. It is actually going to, that actually plays a huge role in other lore down the line. In fact, the Well of Eternity is how we get the origin of the entire race of night elves. It evolves them from trolls, but that's a whole other story. But yeah, it's pretty powerful with all that stuff. That's how we get the Well of Eternity.
Wow.
And yeah,
if we look back at the map real quick, is like he's just getting like yoinked out of the middle of this out of Azeroth here, like just right.
Yeah, the very center of the continent there
is now just like a gaping hole that then is turning to like an arcane ocean.
Is that perhaps like Andoro Crater or
no? See, here's the thing. This is so long ago that all the different continents were one Pangea-like mass here. It's later on during what is known as the Shattering and the War of the Ancients that Well of Eternity gets destroyed and becomes the Maelstrom, and then the land gets shattered into the world that we know today. But this is currently in this map with the Old Gods and the Black Empire. This is like everything is still connected here. It's one solid Pangea-like landmass.
Gotcha.
And Yasharaj was right in the middle of all of that, but now he's not.
Like you said, like that's so metal. Just like enough. And just rip him out.
Yeah.
It's that
Deus
sound.
Ex Machina.
It's that sound when you open the Old Gods card packs and you hear the eyeballs explode. It's that like.
Oh yeah.
Oh wow. Okay. So that's pretty crazy. Okay. So what happens then? Like, is Yasiraj just gone, or does he get back, or how is he like floating around space? Like, what do they do with him? Do they take him out and squish him, or what? Like,
all his remains that got torn apart fell back down to Azeroth. But essentially, what happened was that his what are called his final breaths, in a sense, like his kind of like a final curse, became known as the Shah. They are these dark spirits that feed on negative emotions like pride and fear and anger and other stuff too that is slipping my mind right now. Yeah, they become to inhabit the land that's eventually known as Pandaria and create a lot of problems there, which actually ends up influencing Pandaran culture, where they develop their whole, namaste monk mentality, because you have to keep emotions balanced if you don't want to get the Shah going. But so that those come from Yasharaj.
Okay. So I have pictures up then. Like, I think we're skipping a couple of slides here, but I've got the pictures of the Shah. So they take some different forms. One of them kind of looks more like Yasiraj, but some of them are the smaller ones. Like you can see the shadow beast that comes out of the possessed villager in the Hearthstone card.
Yeah, they're sort of like the prime arc Shah in a sense, and then there's like the smaller minion type of Shah that spawned from them.
Yes. So like you were mentioning, I've got these bigger ones here. The Shah of Anger is one, and then this other one's called the Shah of Fear, and they all kind of look the same, but these crazy colors look really pretty cool.
Yeah.
Anyways, all right. Scooping back real quick, like my next slide's up where the heart. Do we want to loop back to that?
That's where we're going right next.
Cool.
So, so you guys remember Ra, who we already talked about, and you showed his card there. He was kind of taking a trip down to the southern part of the continent, and he saw, here's where all those parts of Yasharaj just kind of fell, and they're creating a huge corrupted mess everywhere. We need to do something about this and clean this up. So, he did that, and he built several vaults. The reason that Ra comes from that Mogu cultist card is because the Mogu were his one of his primary servants as a race. And so he built a vault in order to hold the corrupted heart of Yasharaj and assigned his Mogu servants to guard it. which is why they are down in that area that, again, later becomes known as Pandaria. The hope was that this is something that we can study, we can understand the nature of the old gods so that we can learn how to better combat them, because after the whole gaping wounds thing from Yasharaj, they realized we can't do that with the other old gods, so we're just going to build prisons for them and try to keep them contained. So they're minimalized, but they're still existing as a threat. So the Titan Forge, the Titan Keepers, they all want to figure out how can we understand and combat them better, and they're hoping that basically making a laboratory for this heart of an old god will enable them to do that. As far as I know, they never succeeded in gaining any useful research from it. But it was supposed to be something that was secure, where it wouldn't do any harm to anyone. But that doesn't mean that there wasn't some energies that were sensed out to those who would be susceptible to them. You may remember that I mentioned one of the minions that came from old gods were an insectoid race. Back then they were called the Akir, but after a while they ended up coming to the surface. It's a whole story where they had a big war with the entire troll race, a whole other thing. But basically they ended up splitting into different groups. And some of them were drawn, although unknowingly, to the land where remains of Yasharaj were. And there they settled and evolved / mutated into a race we know as the Mantid. And we have a few cards who are manted in Hearthstone. One of them is our legendary here. Nate, would you like to talk about that a bit?
Yeah, it's the rogue legendary Zero Poisoned Mind. But yeah, it's definitely a Mantis looking card. And I believe we have a few others as well. I can't really think of them off the top of my head, though.
Generally from Mean Streets of Gadgetstan, because the Jade Lotus is very Pandaria race themed. So they have the Pandara, and they have the monkey-like Hosen, the fish-like Jinyu. They also include some Mantid as well, like the Jade Swarmer and the Shadow Sensei.
Okay, yeah, Shadow Sensei and
Shadows.
Claxy Amberweaver. And actually, we had talked about this a while back in one of our other lore episodes, but Grand Empress Shekzara is a Mantid as well, right?
Yes, she is. She is the queen of the Mantid, in fact. And I had almost actually forgotten about her card because I never see it played. But yeah. But yeah, she is very much she is a high Mantid, and you can see they take on various different forms, but they're all very insect and praying mantis inspired there. And there were other Akir that took on other forms, like the Nerubians up in the north, and one or two others. So those are ones we'll talk about at some point in the future. But right now, the Mantid are the key ones here. And they had a very particular cycle that they went through where once every, a certain period of time, 1,000 years or whatnot, they would go and swarm against the Mogu armies who had been left to guard. And they built this, this huge wall eventually called the Serpent Spine, which is essentially the Great Wall of China, but with cool fantasy stuff. And the Mantid are basically like, sure, we every time we do this, we fail, but we're really winning because the ones who kill were the weak ones. So really, they're just making us stronger, and eventually we'll be strong enough to completely overwhelm them, and we'll bring back our master, Yasharaj, eventually. And so that's the thing that the Mantid tend to do for a really long time, every so often. And it's, again, something that is aggravated by the presence of the old god deep down buried beneath them, though they don't know the specifics of where he is or whatnot. Let's see. I think that covers just about all the basics. And was there anything else before we get to the whole Garrosh story? Because we're going to get into why Garrosh looks so weird in his 1,000 wins portrait.
Oh,
Or is it 10,000 wins?
what
I
is
forget.
this mural here that I've got of the?
Oh, yes. Yes, that is essentially manted art, I believe, honoring their god. Here's a really fun fact. This is the closest that we got to any sort of image of Yasharaj for a really long time. Hearthstone is actually the very first time we got art of what Yasharaj looks like. The Hearthstone team got to decide forever in lore what this previously unseen old god would appear as, which I just thought was so cool. It was one of the reasons I loved Whispers of the Old God set. Same for N'Zoth, actually. Although N'Zoth has since appeared with that same model in World of Warcraft, and Yasharaj hasn't because Yasharaj is dead. That body is destroyed. He was said to have 7 heads, and the art just kind of focuses on one of them. But the Mantid referred to him as the 7-headed god. I use your imagination as to what you think the rest of the huge city-sized Yasharaj body looks like outside of what we see. This is like one long neck with his, massive, horrible eyes and maw and all that stuff there.
It definitely looks awesome, and I think that it's so cool that I just love the idea that this is something that they got to debut in Hearthstone that we're seeing this for the first time, be like, oh yeah, this is pretty sweet. And all these Warcraft players are like, we've been hearing about this for a long time and never seen it. Now we're seeing it for the first time in a different game. Like, just
yeah,
it's really cool. So yeah, it looks awesome and creepy, and yeah, it's just great.
What a way to market towards the WoW players to come play Hearthstone.
No joke.
It worked for me. I mean, I just happened to join around the time when Old Gods was still in the current meta. And like I was saying before the show, I'm just like, oh, these are the cool looking packs. I'm just going to get, not those boring basic packs. I'm going to get the Old God cards. And so I'm ending up with more of this advanced stuff that doesn't go together when I don't have a lot of the basic Hearthstone cards yet. But yeah, no, it was really awesome experience for me to be able to see what these characters look like that I'd been just recently learning about as I started to get into the lore myself. And so we have our big setup here. Oh, sorry, did you have a question, Sheep?
Yeah, I did. I know that Yasharaj was completely kind of upended and torn, and his heart is kind of being guarded by the Mogu cultists and whatnot. Do we know for sure that Yasharaj has been killed, or is it possible that like he's still kind of like down there, still alive, or is he like canonically killed at this point?
At this point in the story, the heart and the Shah are all that remain of him. In a sense, his power kind of lives through them in a reduced way. So he has a presence, but not like, full conscious sentience like back when he was whole and whatnot. So yeah, at this point in the story, but we'll get to things a little bit later. So yeah, now we come to, like, this heart's been locked away for a really, 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 really long time. But then along comes a guy named Garrosh, and he finds this heart. And at this point, he is War Chief of the Horde, and he's kind of steadily been going down the tyrannical warmonger path already, showing a lot of racism to other members of the Horde. You're like, no, Horde is for the orcs. They're the true Horde here. I don't want any of you, because I can't trust you to be loyal to me. And he's kind of on the xenophobic side, and has a lot of power issues. But yeah, he's he wants to get all sources of power that he can, and so he and his excavation team end up finding, they're just searching for some sort of rumored ancient weapon or artifact or whatnot, and turns out to be the heart of an old god. And so what he does, he goes and takes this heart of an old god and says like, this thing's dormant, I need to activate it in order to get the power. So he dunks it in literally the most like beautiful, magical stream area called the Vale of Eternal Blossoms, and completely destroys and corrupts it because old god power, and all in order to just like wake up the heart so that he can use it to make himself more powerful. And then he goes back to Orgrimmar and starts becoming even more tyrannical than he'd been before. And all of this just pushes everyone over the edge. Pretty much the majority of the Horde, especially all the non-orcs, but even a lot of the orcs like Thrall and stuff who are like, this is just wrong. They go and unite in what's called the Darkspear Rebellion, which is actually led by Vol'jin, who becomes the next war chief, by the way. And they unite with the Alliance forces, and this is an event in the game that is known as the Siege of Orgrimmar, which is the Horde's capital city, and where Garrosh has a stronghold here. And so one of the first, we have Garrosh, but Garrosh actually shared some of the old god's power with his best buddy. You guys remember the warrior legendary from Whispers of the Old Gods by chance?
Hey, Malkarok.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And do you remember what the flavor text says?
No. I'll have to look that one up.
Not offhand, no.
Looking it up.
Yes.
It's
For those of you listening, that awkward pause, just people suddenly doing their research.
It says Garrosh's best buddy. It's true. Look it up.
Well, now you don't have to because I just told you. But yes, he was Garrosh's chief enforcer, and Garrosh is like, hey, I got some of this sweet old god power here. You're my chief enforcer. I'm going to give it to you too. So he's a boss that you fight before you can get to Garrosh in the raid. And yeah, so he's very much a warrior, and I think that's it's really neat. That was actually the first time that card was the first that I had heard of him, because I started playing the game after that period. But then I later found him and read about him in some of the books. I'm like, oh, okay, now I understand who this guy is.
So I see that he's got a giant, like a blade for his arm, and we had talked about in previous lore episodes, like with blade fists, for example, like they got corrupted after they drank like the demon blood, and that was different. But like, is this any of the same? Like, you can see how he's got the purple stuff on him, and like it looks like he's kind of been corrupted, like
by old gods. Yes, not demon blood on this one.
This is different. Did the giant like sword arm come later, or did he already have that?
I'm not entirely certain on that one. It's possible that there is an orcish clan called the Shattered Hand that does a whole ritualistic thing where they chop off one of their limbs and replace it with a weapon. So it could be something like that he's doing.
Like Ash in the Evil Dead, chainsaw arm.
Yeah, that sort of thing. Or if you guys just remember Kargath Bladefist from Outlands, then he's the leader of that clan, actually. So it could be something they did with that, or maybe it's just kind of a mutating into your weapon thing that's a part of the old god power. I'm a little rusty on that finer point myself. I'm sure that someday someone will come along and very strongly correct me on that, who's even more of a lore fanatic than I am.
So unlike the Blade Fist, which has no master, Malkarok does.
Very much so, yes. Yeah, he is fanatically loyal to Garrosh, to many, many, many faults. But yeah, so he's a guy that you fight for then. And actually, you also fight some Mantid, because Garrosh absorbed... he's the guy who has Yashiraj's power now. So all the Mantid are like, oh, this guy is, Yashiraj now, kind of. So we're going to go and follow him. And so they kind of like become Garrosh's bodyguards, too. And so you have to get through like the most elite of them, called the Galaxy, in order to be able to get to Garrosh. But then finally, you get to Garrosh, and he just full on absorbs all of the heart's power in the fight to try to stop you. And he grows like, the huge grotesque tentacles and eyes and all the typical old god kinds of things. And on the hardest version of the fight, he actually pulls you into a vision of the future that he's seen, where he is the ultimate conqueror of Azeroth, and Stormwind lies in ruins, and he has the bodies of the entire Rind family, like Anduin and Varian and Janon, all of the Horde leaders who oppose them. They're just all up on spikes for everyone to see what happens to those who defy the mighty Garrosh. And
Wow.
so you're like, wow, we really need to make sure this is happening. Oh, and everything is, of course, old god corrupted. It's purple. Purple is generally something that is very bad and evil in World of Warcraft. Purple is old god color. Mm-hmm. If you see things that are a mixture of black and purple, it's generally a big red flag there.
So Garrosh has no chill.
Yes. Garrosh like never had any chill. It's just that he got the power to exert that no chill even more so over the course of his story.
I loved hearing this because when I first saw the artwork, like I just saw all these eyeballs everywhere, and I was like, my first thought was like Cthulhu, but
right,
because the eyeballs, right? But it's just old god corruption. Mm-hmm. Specifically from Yasiraj. So that's really interesting. I like it.
Yeah. Cthulhu is the most iconic with his big eye there. I will not apologize.
That's glorious.
But like eyeballs and tentacles and mouths in places where they shouldn't be, that's a common theme across all of the old gods. So like just because it has the eyes in weird spots doesn't necessarily mean it's directly connected with Cthulhu. He's just the one who has it like a huge lighthouse on the top, so you notice it more.
Yeah. All right.
So what happened, and this is getting to the parts where, Sheep, you were asking a bit earlier, is he fully gone? Well, Garrosh kind of absorbed all of that power, but like it got drained from him again, and the heart had what the wiki refers to as a failure or a disruption, where, I don't know, I guess the old god's disembodied heart had a heart attack or something. I don't quite know precisely, but essentially, because prior to all of this, like, you have killed, as the players, you have gotten rid of all of the Shah. The Shah are no longer a thing that you need to be worried about, and now the heart is gone too. So with those few vestiges of Yasiraj gone, the old god is basically completely unmade. As you finish the fight with Garrosh, you see a little thing that is called like Last Whisper or Last Echo of Yasiraj, and then it just fades away, because this is the final, like it does not exist anymore. And of course, lore writers in the future decide to retcon this for whatever reason. But because this is the nature of ongoing stories. But as of right now, Yasiraj is fully 100% unmade, dead, gone forever. Doesn't mean that the effect he had goes away, though, because the world's got to feel the scars of the actions of the old gods forever. Like I said, the reason the world is the shape it is in right now is because there was a well that exploded, but that magic well exists because Yasiraj was right there, and that had to get put there when he got yanked out. So these guys are the origin for so many different things here. And if you think that being the origin for the shape of the world is big, wait until you get some of the old gods we're going to talk about in future episodes. Some of them are responsible for the existence of entire races as they exist now. I don't just mean all their minions. I mean the effect they had on playable races like dwarves and Naga and beings like that. But that's all for a future time. And a great encouragement for us to actually do those future episodes, so pique your curiosity.
Exciting. That's incredible. I mean, it's just crazy. And so what happens to Garrosh after that? Like, I assume like you have to fight him. Do you kill him, or do you kill like the essence of the old god like dissipates and then he's back to normal, or what is the?
Yeah, essentially, Garrosh has such a strong will that his mind was actually not. He was using the old god's power, but somehow it wasn't actually controlling him. He was just evil on his own at this point. And so like he just kind of went back to normal after it all got burned off in a way. And they actually arrested him and decided to hold him for a trial in Pandaria so that everyone who he had injured could help decide his fate. Only problem was that he kind of escaped from the trial because of a renegade bronze dragon with time travel abilities, and Rathian, who you may remember as a card from Mean Streets of Gadgesan. He's a black dragon and who had the idea that there's a big problem that's coming up ahead, and we need to unite all of Azeroth. So their bright idea is to break Garrosh out of prison, send him back in time to recruit an army of orcs that will then come and conquer all of Azeroth, so that Azeroth isn't a bunch of factions fighting itself. It's one huge unstoppable army for when demons come or old gods come or whatever else. And so, yeah, Garrosh's story goes on after this. He doesn't die for a little while into that. That's the expansion that is known as Warlords of Draenor in World of Warcraft that came after all of this, which happened in the one known as Mist of Pandaria. But that's all another long, complicated story dealing with time travel and bronze dragons. And it honestly is anything with time travel is enough to make my head hurt if I think about it too much. So I'd like to stop here if you don't mind.
Yeah, no. Probably a good idea before we go too far down the rabbit hole. But like, wow, okay. I love it when we get like, I remember when Wrathion came out thinking like, oh, dragons. Oh, this card seems kind of cool. But like, knowing that there's a whole story that I've never heard before behind this character is like, whoa, that's cool. So one of these days we'll have to.
That's his human disguise. Like all dragons have the ability to take on a mortal form, and that's the one he likes to use.
Nice.
Very cool. All right. Do y'all have any questions?
When's part 2?
right like I wanted so bad to like jam it all into one episode, but I knew it'd be recording for like hours, right? But it's so interesting, and like I'm like, okay, what happens next? I'm ready for it. So
yeah, me
stay
too.
tuned, I suppose. We'll figure that out later on.
It's great. I really like that we decided to split it up and go into more detail, because if we would have jammed it all in and rushed it, we wouldn't get all the detail that we're getting. So
you would have had really we didn't start the fire version.
Yeah.
Well, which I want to turn into a parody song at some point, but that was going to take a lot of writing to summarize all of them. I did manage to write one about Yasharaj recently, though.
Oh, that's right. Yes, we have a parody song for
Get
everybody.
back, ladies and gentlemen.
Yes, Goliath has a parody song for everybody. I don't have a great way of playing it live on air, so I'll post it right after the episode. So stay tuned, and you can all listen to it. If you're listening to the audio version of this podcast, like as soon as the credits like roll, the song will be there. But like, yes, I will get the mixer working over the weekend, and everybody keep me accountable. Okay, I will do it. It's there, sitting on my desk. Please do. Very, very fun episode. So which old god comes next in the series if we do all 4 or 4 plus, because we've got a couple ancillary
I think that Yogg-Saron is probably the next biggest one that we'll want to tackle because he's the one, like I said, like the impact on why some races are the way they are. N'Zoth has an impact in that area too. He's responsible for a lot of things. He has close ties with Deathwing, and Cthulhu is probably the most minor in terms being more isolated in its effect. So we might save
Isolated.
Cthulhu. How did I not catch that one? I did a great pun earlier, but I missed this one. But yeah, so that's likely going to be our order. We're probably going to go Yogg-Saron, N'Zoth, then Cthulhu with other relevant things sprinkled in as they come. But things could change depending on gauged interest, what people want to hear the most.
Sure.
I'd be willing to go with that. Of course, we have our thing that we also we want to keep up with the sets coming out soon, so this isn't guaranteed to be the very next episode either.
We'll make it happen. We'll have to loop back around to that, but this is a lot of fun.
Oh yeah.
Excitement abounds. And I can't wait to hear more about Yogg-Saron Praiseby.
Yes.
Praise be his randomness.
All right. Well, I guess kind of looping back to the main part of the show. God, it kills me to like end the lore episode or end the lore portion anyhow. But let's loop back around a little bit. Talk about the wild meta. What we've all been seeing on ladder. What we've all been playing. I want to introduce this segment a little bit with a very brief snapshot with what I saw, and I would say just take this with a grain of salt because this was like day 1, day 2 of the ladder. But I was mentioning at the start of the show that when I did my legend climb, I recorded all my matchups and I put them all into kind of a spreadsheet on Google Sheets. And this is the spread for me, which actually looked like a pretty healthy meta. So it was pretty much... it was almost like you could break it into almost like 5 parts, right? So 1/5 Warlock, which was primarily even Warlock or even Reno Lock, 1/5 Warrior, which was predominantly Pirate Questline Warrior, 1/5 Druid, which they were all variants of kind of Celestial Alignment decks, and then 1/5 Hunter, which they were all, I shouldn't say all, but almost all, the odd Questline Hunter. And then kind of the other 5th was like a mashup of priest, shaman, mage, decks, and there's a couple, like I think there was like one or two rogues. There was 1 demon hunter, and this is about 100 games, a little bit less than 100 games. But I was like, wow, that was interesting. That this was the spread for me. I thought, wow, this is healthier than it's been in a while. Because last time I did one of these, it was like 45% Warlock. And so this is
those guaranteed wins.
So I thought this was interesting. Now, again, take it with a grain of salt because this was my climb. I think that I saw other people's and like odd Questline Hunter is everywhere. Pirate Warrior is everywhere. Even Warlock is a lot of places. Was interesting because last month, in my experience anyways, towards the end of last month, it was like even Warlock, and then it morphed into this even Reno Lock, and it's hard, especially with no deck tracker sometimes, to spot the difference until you start seeing the yellow cards come out. I mean, when they play Kazakus or Zephyrs, okay, it's a tell, but sometimes you just don't know. And playing as a hunter, I'm sitting here like pinging them down, and then they Reno, and it's like, oh, well, I can't recover from that. Like all my spells are gone. And people start hard teching against odd Questline Hunter. People have started playing Robes
Mindbreaker.
Mindbreaker, right? So Mindbreaker shuts off your hero power entirely, which is just crazy, right? Crazy sauce. People are playing Robes of Protection, which means you can't target their board at all. And that's like, what? Okay. I saw people playing various versions of like Reno decks now running Sir Finley and Grizzled Wizard to steal the hero power, and then people running Skulking Geist to just like eat your entire deck. And I was like, wow, people are really like hard teching against Odd Questline Hunter right now. So it's interesting. I mean, I think now if I was gonna play something, I'd probably be playing like some Reno Lock, but that's me. Pirate Warrior seems good. Celestial Alignment Druid is feels good but very difficult to play. I feel like Bonk Druid or like Questline Druid is like a great counter to the Questline Hunter, but not great into other things. So I don't know. For me personally, after like, I think I'm done with Hunter for a little while. I love it, but people are teching against it so hard that like I need the dust to clear for a little while, I think, before I play much more of it.
The arcade dust.
Yeah. So I mentioned at the start of the show, like I hit Legend with a 45% win rate, which is not very good. It was like 98 games. It was not great. Anyways, my concern was like, hey, my MMR is going to be bad because of this, and so I'm going to decay faster, which is happening. And so I did some co-op with my good friend Blue Train. We're playing this aggro priest, the shadow priest with Dark Bishop Benedictus, and did pretty well with it. Kind of learned the matchup somewhat, and climbed some ranks a little bit with this. Ended up going, I think, 57% win rate. It was not a huge data point here, sample size. I think it was 1-7, lost 5, but 58% win rate. But it was fun. It's like the games are tense, right? Because it's like you win by a margin, lose by a margin, and the games are really fast. Yeah, I have the whole deck in gold except the Shadow Bombers, and I have no dust left. Yeah, I know. I'm sitting here looking at this, and the whole deck is like blinged out except the Shadow Bombers. Yeah, that's gonna cost 30. 1,600 dust times 2 for these epic cards that.
I mean, when you disenchant it, you get 100 back, so it's only 3,000 dust that you need to save up.
I will.
Why would you do that? Everyone knows that you need the full collection. It's not enough just to have the goldens. You have to have all the goldens and the normals and the diamonds.
I got rid of
What kind of whales are you?
Yeah, I'll get them. I'll get them soon. I know it's gonna happen. Like, you guys don't even have to hound me. You know this is gonna bother me. Like, looking at this and the one card that's not golden. Anyways, so big shout out and appreciation to Blue Train, who took some time to kind of walk through this with me and play a bunch of games with me, and it was a lot of fun. Kind of learning something new. The deck. What I need to learn though is how to the art of like the god draw, right? And I don't know. I don't know how to do that. It's like, I swear, I always draw Patches. I always draw Baku, sitting here, and like, I don't know. These games were really intense, though. I will say, like, on the edge of your seat, and it's like, I don't know. They're nerve wracking, but very fun. I had a lot of fun playing it, and when it works, it really works. Like, you're winning on turn 4.
Wow.
And it's like phenomenal. This card, this new card, the Void Touch Attendant, it's a 1-mana 1/3 that says all of your stuff does like 1 extra damage. It's just crazy. You get a board full of pirates and ship's cannons and sending everything face, and it all does extra damage. Like, it's nutty how quickly that it stacks up.
Just to heroes, not to other minions,
sorry,
unfortunately.
Yes, just to heroes. But very fun. Very fun. I enjoy it. So, yeah. Anyways, the other thing I thought was interesting before I passed the mic over was, at one point, I think it was last weekend when we were playing, there were so few people playing at the time. I kept queuing into the same 2 people over and over, and one was Memnarch, who was rank 20 at the time, I think. And then I was queuing into Reva Ryan, who was playing Odd Paladin, which just dunked on this deck so hard. And after like, and Memnarch's playing even Reno Luck. Reaver Ryan, of course, is playing Odd Paladin. And it was like both of these matches are not favored, and I finally won a couple, and it was like, all right, it's time to stop. But I think overall the deck feels solid. It feels like a lot of fun. If you need priest wins, it's very fun to climb with. I recommend it. So yeah, I'll put the code in chat here, and I'll put it in the show notes as well. Yeah. So yeah, that's it for me. I see I've got a deck here for you, Goliath. Looks like you have been playing some Death Rattle Rogue. You want to tell us a little bit about this? This looks really fun.
Yeah, so this is one of those cases where I found a really cool deck actually in the Born to Be Wild Discord, but I don't always have all of the cards for one, so I have to make a few substitutions, which technically makes it my deck, I guess. But yeah, no, I found this and I loved the idea because it's been so long since I played, pretty much anything involving Death Rattle, honestly, except maybe something involving Hunter. I can't quite remember. But, it's October. It's kind of in the thematics of all of that. And I really wanted to. And it's really neat in its concept where basically you use... the Death Rattle of why am I forgetting card names right now? It's the Kobold one that summons a 1 cost of a card in your hand.
Kobold Illusionist.
Yeah, that's it. And so the idea is that you use that card in order, and maybe 1 or 2 ones that you can get that out just a little early to get up small versions of the larger Death Rattles, like the one that gives you all the armor or the Colossus, and basically get those out in the earlier game and drive your opponent nuts, maybe even get them to concede. And so that is something that I really enjoy. You get all the weapons that, this one triggers a Death Rattle, or this one Battle Cry, you get a Death Rattle that you already triggered. And a lot of the Necrium themed cards from Boomsday are things that I haven't really seen played before are used here. Its main problem so far that I'm encountering is that it is very dependent on that lucky draw that you get the Kobold Illusionist or a card that can be able to trigger its Death Rattle without you having it there in order to get the ball rolling. Because unless you have some Death Rattles already triggered, a lot of your cards aren't going to do good. And so many of the cards in this are of the higher cost that if you're playing against something that has the ability to get a lot of stuff on the board very quickly within the first few turns, you're not going to be able to defend very well if you don't get your lucky draws. So I'm thinking of maybe trying to tinker a bit further and more purposefully with this deck to see if maybe I can find a way around that. Or maybe I'll just completely meme it and throw in the original N'Zoth and have some fun with it that way. Maybe I'll make a version of both. I don't know. I'm not the greatest. I am the one person who is a guest on the show who is not very good at a lot of this deck building stuff and whatnot. But yeah, that's I think that it's a deck that's been really fun for me to play. I do a lot of Pirate Warrior and a lot of other stuff I have fun with, but in terms of something that was more unique that I came across recently and actually did a little tinkering with, this is what I wanted to bring onto the show tonight.
Hey, it looks like a lot of fun. Yeah.
I mean, if I see Kel'Thuzad in a deck, I'm like, can I try, please?
Nice. It's on my golden craft list for the future, right? I know we're not playing a lot of it right now, but it sees play from time to time, and it's always so much flavor there.
He's on the list. Not high on the list, but he's on the list.
Definitely.
Yes, that's one because he's not from PAX. You have to craft him if you want him golden, don't you?
Yep.
Yeah, that's right.
Yep. All right, Hydra. What about you? What have you been up to here?
Well, so I have been playing a lot of Warrior, and I've been playing a lot of Hunter, so primarily the Quest Pirate Warrior and also the Quest Hunter. So I've got a little breakdown. I don't know if you got the image there, Nate.
Yeah.
Basically, it's almost what I've been playing is what I've been seeing, right? So if you look at what I've been playing, in the red, we got the Warrior, and then we have the green and the Hunter. it's almost like reflected exactly in what my opponents have been playing. So I get a lot of mirror matches either way. There's been obviously the druids with the celestial alignment, and just a couple little things sprinkled in. Warlock has really dropped off for me.
Wow.
And yes, the warlock that I do see is the even warlock, and I have had the Reno versions come in, and but yeah, not a lot of priest anymore. I feel like since the Elucia change, I haven't seen as much of the aggressive shadow priest.
Mhm.
I don't know if people just dropped off real quick because of the nerf, and maybe it'll come back. I'm not really sure, but it's a super fun deck. Like, I absolutely love that deck, and I think you can still play it. You just don't get kind of, delete your opponent's turn sort of plays anymore.
People are running God, what's the card called that makes your opponent stuff cost one more? It's this Cult Neophyte.
Oh, Cult Neophyte, yeah.
You've been adding those to kind of mess with all the hunters.
Yeah, and that'll do it. So, but yeah, it's mostly it seems like it's Hunter. And a lot of it will end up being mirror matches because I've primarily been playing Hunter. But I feel like I want to switch it up a bit, and because I hadn't run into any mages, and so I asked Nate, zero mages. So that's why I asked Nate the other day. I'm like, are people still playing Ignite Mage? Because I have not been running into it.
I've watched it several times.
and Nate said, yeah, NHL's got a list. So I grabbed it, and another major reason for asking was I noticed that on EU I was super close to being able to craft the deck because I've played a lot of like tempo mage and whatnot in the past with like flame wakers and stuff. I've got like a lot of mage cards on EU, and I'm like, hey, I wonder if I'm like sort of close to this deck. And I mean, even though it doesn't share that many cards now that I look at it, I was literally about, I think, like 1,100 dust away from crafting it, and I had about 3,000 dust in the bank on EU. So I'm like, all right, let's do it. Got NHL fans list, and I just crafted it the other day. And literally, like I said, since I haven't been really facing it, I go to play it, and it's like, all right, I've got no help. I don't know what I'm doing. Let's do this. And I won my very first game that I played with it. And I'm like, okay, 100% win rate. I'm awesome. Let's post that on YouTube.
Dust bait. I really struggle to play this deck. Now, this was about a week ago, I think. And so I'm not sure if the list has morphed at all. But like, this is from about a week ago.
Yeah, and I've noticed all the lists that I could find only run the single Ignite. Like, they don't double it up. It's apparently you just only need the one.
I think it's for consistency purposes. Like, I am not the expert. We'll have to bring...
so that it's always... Like, you don't want to draw the one that's only going to deal 2 damage. You're going to draw the one that's dealing the more and more and more damage, the exponential damage, I suppose, is why you want one.
The combo itself is not super hard, but the animations are really like what kill me here. The APM is really difficult. I know there have been issues with players essentially like violating TOS by disabling animations. And I struggle with this deck. Like, it's super fun to play. I can beat the Innkeeper, or any sort of like PvE content, but it's tricky sometimes because I'll run out of time. So I'm glad that it's working for you. But
maybe we'll see it. Like I said, I hopped in, I played it, I won. I got the God draw, but it'd be fun. Maybe we could do a co-op and we could try to put our heads together and see if we can get an NHL's brain here.
Oh, sure. Yeah, we'll have to wrangle somebody in who's better at it than me, but I'm sure that it can be done. I'd love to learn it.
Either way, it looks fun, it plays fun, and you look at the stuff that I've been playing against, I don't know, and the stuff I've been playing, it's been getting a bit stale. I've been playing the same things over and over again. I'm seeing the same things over and over again.
Yeah.
So it seemed like a good idea to switch it up.
Nice.
Oh, and I'm about 50 wins away, I think, from the 1,000 win Jaina. So
nice. Yeah, I like that
Oh
portrait
yeah,
a lot.
that's a big incentive to play.
yeah,
Ignite Mage in particular.
yeah. So I could probably zone in on that pretty quickly.
Sure.
I mean,
Yeah.
if I'm winning, obviously.
Yeah.
I
Yeah, I've been
believe.
thinking like want to make fire themed mage decks, but none of the mage heroes look very fiery unless you get that like what ones like Kel'Thuzad are literally about cold instead. It doesn't seem very thematic there.
Yeah, the 1K is I think the fire portrait, right? That's
Yeah.
the
Yep.
closest we've got. So
Gotta get that one. But Sheep, how about you? What have you been playing?
Yeah, well, so Shmoopy Daddy turned me on to this taunt and biggin aggro, essentially. So it's an aggro druid. Kind of patterned off of the standard taunt aggro druid, but with embiggen and stuff like that, to make it more wild specific. It's got a one of Crypt Lord, a one of Cult Neophyte, but the rest of it is, the embiggen package and the standard kind of taunt package with a gray bow and Razormane Battle Guard, encumbered pack mules, and bone chewer brawlers for that kind of taunt package. It cuts the teacher's pet, which standard runs, but obviously we run some other things instead, like Crypt Lord, and the pirate package to pull hopefully embiggened patches out of the
Right.
deck. So
this looks like a really neat kind of mashup of the current version that's in standard right now, but adding like the cool cards from Wild. So I kind of love this, and I bet you because at least for me personally, like all of my druid matches were like celestial alignment matches, so I imagine that people mulligan totally wrong for this. So yeah, what has your experience been on ladder?
It's been kind of hit and miss. Like it, most of the games that I've played on it have been on mobile or tablet, so I don't have like a huge kind of stat recording. I haven't been maintaining the journals that you did whenever
Oh,
you
yeah.
were doing it offline. But Ignite Mage pretty much eats your breakfast because of the 2 ice blocks, and they can just get there sometimes pretty quickly. And Hunter just has so much removal, and you want to play to the board that Hunter can get there as well. Yeah, so it's been fun, but it has some weaknesses in this particular meta, unfortunately. And whenever I was looking at my opponent's class breakdown from Firestone of the games that I've played on computer, I've played against more Warlock and Mage than anything else.
Wow.
So yeah, those are not favorable matchups.
Unfortunate.
Yeah, it's been fun. It's been a blast. It's still a really fun deck. It's definitely not a meta breaker or anything like that, but it scratches that aggro druid itch that I get sometimes, and I had it, and that scratched it.
No. We can't do that.
You shouldn't wake the trees, Nate Wolf.
Well,
Oh, fun. This is I love that this is like this crazy mashup of the standard version where like hadn't seen Greybow being played in anything in Wild in ages aside from some kind of like funky Hadronox like taunt death rattle druid sort of thing, and so seeing it in an aggro deck is fun. I'll have to goof around with this as well.
Yeah, and it is a blast. It definitely has those kind of taunt synergies with the Bone Chewer Brawl, or not Bone Chewer Brawler, the Razormane Battle Guard, and then of course you're going wide, so odds are you can kind of land something. The standard version running Teacher's Pet honestly makes it a lot more consistent to actually be able to land the Graybow's battle or Death Rattle. Because if you play a Teacher's Pet first, and then you play Greybow, if they both die, then the Teacher's Pet's Death Rattle goes off first, and then the Greybow's does. This doesn't have that, so if there's any sort of like AoE that gets them both, or that wipes out your entire board, then Greybow's Death Rattle just kind of goes off, not onto anything. But odds are, if that's happening, then you're losing anyway.
Yeah.
So, unlike in standard where there's less to kind of pull from, your opponents have a deeper well to pull from to continue to wipe your board and or go face. So unfortunately, that's something that kind of gets cut for this, but also the outs aren't really there to make it worthwhile to include to cut anything else to include those teachers' pets in there.
Yeah. Very cool.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we're nearing the end of the show here, but let us jump quickly into our weekly challenge. Sheep, do you mind chatting briefly about what last week's challenge was?
Absolutely. So last week's challenge, to in honor of Elusive Lucy, was the largest attacked stealthed minion. So no conceal. Conceal was banned. So we did, in fact, have a winner. Our winner was Mickle with a 304 attack. It looks like an escaped mana saber.
Yes.
So, wow. I see a lot of divine spirits have been put onto that escaped mana saber on the left over there. So good job, Mickle, getting that escaped mana saber to 304 attack to claim victory.
It's pretty juicy. Jeez.
Of course, it was a priest with those cards.
Oh yeah.
Like, I was almost hoping, like, oh, maybe it was like, because Rogue has the Shadow Sensei card that we mentioned earlier that, gives Stealth Minion +2/+2 or whatnot. Like, oh, people go to use those, but no, of course, you can't beat Stealth for, you can't beat Priest for building things that are big statted. It's no other class has the tools to outclass the Inner Fire and Divine Spirit yet.
Yeah, it's funny. From what I can see on the left, and there may have been more that just didn't make the taskbar, but there's a Power Word Shield and 4 Divine Spirits before Inner Fire. So there may well have been more buffing that happened that we just didn't see.
It's possible. Yeah. Can't do the mental math that quick, but it's pretty crazy. 304. Wow.
So congratulations, Mickle. Mickle, of course, wins the most valuable prize, which is bragging rights, but of course also wins the 2 packs on us. So congratulations, Mickle.
Very
Good
nice.
job. That's awesome.
Do you guys have any sort of like trophy case or Hall of Fame for people who win these at all?
I
I know that it would basically be just filled with like the same people all the time, but
pretty much. You know what? I might add that to the website over the weekend because, like, I have all of the data and who won and what the challenges were. Like, that would be really interesting. I like that. That's a good question.
we have that sort of thing for winners of custom card contests on out of cards. So I was just curious.
Yeah, we could have a.
But we should.
I mean, we right from the beginning we did discuss that we would make a Hall of Fame. We haven't done it yet, but yeah, we could totally have a Hall of Fame that just shows who's got the most. I'm sure Mickle is up there.
Mickle and Ken Ray, yeah.
Mega Mog / Mega Pog had a whole bunch in the beginning, like a lot.
Right.
Yeah, there's a few people with a lot of wins out there.
I saved. We have everything saved, so the data is all there. It's just a matter of compiling it, which can be done without too much difficulty. So I'll have to do that. But I like the idea of preserving it for posterity. It'd be fun, actually. It'd be fun to look on later and see, hey, okay, this was the winner, but like, anyone want to dunk on him? Like, get a bigger one? Just so that'd be kind of fun.
And it makes those bragging rights that much sweeter when you can point to your trophy on the wall at the website. Like, nope, see, that's me. I did that.
You know what? I like that because I look at, I've been trying to make leaderboards the last couple of months, and it's always fun to go to the website. It's like, that's my name. That's my name up there. I appreciate that comment. I'll commit to doing that for sure.
I know I'll never get up there, but it's still really fun to have.
Hey, you never know. I believe in you. You get there one of these days.
Thanks, Nate. I just need the right challenge that fits with the crazy ways that I think, I guess.
Yeah. All right. Speaking of crazy challenges, the way you think, let's talk about this week's challenge. So the theme, of course, with this week's episode is corruption. So what do you think, Goliath? How do you want to do this? We want to talk about playing corrupted cards, right?
Mm-hmm.
What sort of challenge do you have in mind here?
Oof. Let's see here. I thought that was just giving the idea and you took it from there. But
hey, I will edit this part later. We can think on the fly. Yeah, I don't know. So typically what I'd like to make it challenging because what always ends up happening is we say, play the biggest minion or the biggest stat minion or the most minions.
Yeah.
And
So,
but I definitely want to keep the theme of corrupted cards for sure.
yeah.
Here's one that might be pretty challenging for people. I'm not certain. How about the most unique corrupted cards on your side of the board at the same time? Like, it can't just be that you play your carnival clown and that fills the board or something. It's not the biggest ones. Like, no, you want even the ones that ordinarily you think are pretty useless as corrupted cards. So like whatever ones your chosen class provides, all of the neutral ones, if you can manage it, just whatever you can do for. But then what should we do if multiple people manage to fill their boards with each of them being a different class? Should we go for higher stats or what?
Yeah, higher stats is typically the tiebreaker there for sure.
And this will be playing the Dark Moon Fair version of Yasharaj is probably going to be something that a lot of people want to do because that gives you the ability to kind of invest during the game where you're playing the corrupted minions. Then, I can play them for zero now by taking these new copies. So it's probably going to be a way a lot of people want to do it. But then the question is, how can you build it where you can survive long enough to play that with a deck constructed that way that you need so many different types of corrupted cards?
I like that. Yeah. And then, because, when you play the new Yasiraj, like, you get to play all these corrupted cards for zero, but you have to have corrupted them previously or played them previously. And so there's the challenge. Like, you got to survive long enough to actually drop all of these cards.
This reminds me of getting the play X amount of corrupted cards quest that you would get. And I'd be on either EU or Asia where I have limited, cards. And so I just type corrupt and just
put everything in the deck.
Yeah.
Hydra, you're talking about the default way I make all my decks. Insert keyword. That's how I had to do it. But then, so what mode should this be allowed in then?
Yeah, okay. So to participate, you've got to build this deck. It could be any class. You've got to play the games in either on the ladder, or in casual. However, you cannot play them against a friend. You cannot play them against the innkeeper. You cannot play them against the computer or any other sort of PvE content because it's just a little bit too easy. That being said, we don't want to force you to tank your rank either. So yeah, play it on ladder, play it in casual. Take a screenshot, post it in our Discord. We've got a channel called Weekly Challenge. And that's it. And then for next week's show, we will take a look at the screenshots, and whoever has got the board with the most diverse minions, and then we will default to biggest stats. But specifically looking for these minions who don't see a lot of play. You know, I would love to see something other than Strongman and Corrupt and Carnival Clown, right?
Yeah.
It would be great to see some of the funky ones that don't see play very often. So
Dark Moon statue is one that comes to mind that I never see play.
hey, there we go. All right, it's got to include at least Dark Moon statue. You heard it here. And so yes, join our Discord. The easiest way to find the Discord is go to our website, which is borntobewildhs.com. Click on the link that says find us, and there's a link to our Discord there. Within the Discord, there's a bunch of channels, but there's one channel called Weekly Challenge. You post your screenshot there in time for next week's show. So submission before 6 p.m. Pacific next Friday, which would be October the 15th. So yeah, we'll pick the winner live on next week's show. The winner gets 2 packs on us, and more importantly, they get bragging rights, right? You did the thing. And hey, you probably end up on our website too. So,
On the new Hall of Fame.
right? I love it. That'll be my weekend project. Not to distract me from the mixer and the soundboard.
No. Yeah.
I was just about to say.
No, the wheels are spinning. I already have an idea for this. It won't be that hard.
Goody.
But this will be great, and this will give me a chance to post the screenshots and give people the bragging rights, and they can go look at the Hall of Fame. I love it. Very cool. All right, everybody. Well, that about wraps it up for us. Before we finish the show, I want to say a few quick but important thank you. So first and foremost, to Shokunin, who is the executive producer of our show, has been a long time friend and supporter, and so just thank you so much for your continued support and patronage. We appreciate you very, very much, and also to the patrons of our show. So big shout out and thank you to Disruptor 108, Claudette G, Daniel B, Wildcard, Aramorn, Ben from Work, Turtle Boy, and Number Theory. Thank you very, very much. If anybody out there watching the show live or on YouTube, listening to the show on any sort of podcast, website or app, or our website for that matter, who's interested in supporting us financially, we do have a Patreon. You can visit our website at borntobewildhs.com. If you click on the Find Us page, there's a link to the Patreon. And we will happily take your donations. They're not required, but always appreciated. Lastly, if you're somebody who's on Twitch a lot, we do have several very cute emotes made by the incredibly talented and artistic Christina Oe. We've got several fun emotes that you can use by subscribing to us on Twitch. Yeah. My final big giant thank you is to our good friend Goliath the Dwarf, just for hanging out with us tonight, donating your time and energy, providing us these wonderful stories. And it's always a pleasure to have you on. Looking forward to working with you again in the future. And yeah, just thank you. Thank you for hanging out with us tonight. It's always really fun to hear the lore behind these cards that we love so much.
My pleasure. I always love coming on to these, and I'm looking forward to after we get our mini set announcement and when we get our 3rd expansion of the year. That's always a really great cap off. There's going to be so many topics for us to cover in the near future, plus finding time to get the future Lore God episodes in. We're going to have a lot of fun and our work cut out for us for the next little while on these.
I can't wait.
Hey, definitely.
Excitement abounds.
So Goliath, for people who want to check you out, follow you online, or check out more of your content, I know that you write for Out of Cards. But where can people find you?
Right. So, yes, if you are interested in these lore stories, and if you would like a slightly more summarized version of the story of all of the old gods in general, you can actually find an article that I wrote about that and many other topics at Out of Cards. It's a Hearthstone fan site. We're always slowly growing, and we always get real excited for people to come and comment on our stuff and we're always looking for more people to submit their own decks to the site, and lots of great stuff you can get involved in. We have custom card contests as well that we just started a new season on with the very spooky theme going on, I believe, though I can't remember exactly what it is. But you can find my stuff under the lore section, and we have lore forums if you want discussions on all that. So yeah, that's the main place you can find and interact with me. I'm present in the Discord server, in the Born to Be Wild Discord server, if you want to reach out for me that way. I don't really do much social media. I've considered trying to get back into streaming, but my work schedule is so unpredictable all the time, I haven't been able to find a way to get into it. If you do want to find me on Twitch for some reason, it is just Goliath the Dwarf, capital letter in Goliath in the and Dwarf, all one word there. That's probably pretty much all other places worth mentioning at the moment.
Very, very cool. All right. Well, we've got you hooked now, and we did part 1. Now we have to do the other 3 parts at least.
We already called it part 1.
Yeah. We did. Very, very cool. All right. Sheep, where can people find you around the internet?
Yeah, I can be found around the internet at Electric Sheep City at places where that fits, like Twitch, and at eSheep City at places where that doesn't fit, like Twitter.
It's so good. It's so good.
So's your face.
Oh, got him.
And so was having Goliath here this evening. That was also so good. It's always a blast hanging out with you and getting to not just like be info dumped on, but like, listen to the story and kind of like engage with it that way. And it makes it go from just like oh, that's neat to like, oh, cool, what happens next? So thank you very much. So thank you very much for sharing your wealth of knowledge with us and doing so in such an engaging and like it's a storytelling experience that you guide us on. So thank you so much for spending your evening with us, Goliath.
Yes.
Delighted.
So what about you, Hydra? Where around the internet can you be found?
You can all find me on Twitter and Twitch at Hydralisk_HS, and in our Discord, which I highly recommend if you're listening to the show and you have not popped in there yet, you are really missing out on a great community. If you want to talk wild Hearthstone, if you want to, just have a nice community to interact with, we are quite an active server. We've got a lot of members in there that are talking about all sorts of different decks and life in general. So hop on in if you haven't done so already. It's a vibrant, fun community, and it's just peaceful, and it's great. And I can't promote it or talk about how good it is anymore. It's a fun place to be. It really, really is. So please come check it out. And we've got people like the wonderful Goliath the Dwarf that are in there, and maybe he'll promote one of his I've just invented this now, but a baking stream in there. And
I'd watch it.
But yeah, come check us out there. It's a lot of fun. How about you, Nate? Where can people find you?
Yeah, I'm pretty active on Twitter at NateWolfTCG. It's NateWolfeTCG. And then, of course, our website. Check us out on our website, which is borntobewildhs.com. And from there, I also echo Hydra's sentiment about the Discord. It's very active. We have a lot of fun there. So yeah, check it out. Again, everything kind of go to our website. All the links are there. But the Discord has been so much fun, especially just chatting with people. We kind of heckle each other. We share deck lists. We talk about
co-op
movies, and we've been doing a lot of co-op lately, which has been a lot of fun. I really enjoy it. Sometimes, this past week I didn't really get to do a whole lot. It's hard to make time sometimes, but there's always people hanging around. We've got a co-op channel if you're interested in playing with other people. It's kind of my most fun way to play, or if I'm sitting like camping out at High Legend, I don't want to play, like I'd love to watch someone else play or talk through games and stuff, and it's really fun. So yeah, I recommend that, absolutely. Very, very cool. As a final note for the show, we've been doing some shout outs. And so I would like to start off and give a big shout out to my good friend Blue Train, who is kind of my go-to for co-oping decks. I love just hanging out and learning and hanging out. We talk a lot, and it's been a lot of fun. We spent a lot of time together over the past week. But also, I wanted to give a big shout out to my good friends here, Sheep and Hydra, because we didn't do the show last week, and I missed you guys, and it was like it was weird not doing it, and I very happy to be back and really enjoy the time together, and also to you, Goliath. I really appreciate. I don't think everyone necessarily realizes, like, when we do these lore shows, there is a lot of homework going on behind the scenes, and primarily being done by Goliath over here.
Yes.
And, like it may appear that he just knows the stuff, off the top of his brain, but like there is research involved. And so I very much appreciate your hard work. And it is.
If anyone wants to conduct similar research, I strongly recommend getting your hands on the Warcraft Chronicle books. They do a good job at summarizing a lot of stuff. One of my primary resources for first getting into everything. But of course, you need to supplement a lot of stuff from wikis as well, which isn't always the easiest to pull together from all the different pages.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. All right. Hey, Hydra, anybody you'd like to shout out before we end the show tonight?
Yeah, I have been really, really excited for the fact that there's a new mode coming into the game, whether it flops or whether it's the most fun thing in the world. I want to shout out Team 5 for adding to this game, to giving us more things to do with the characters that come out of Warcraft, and they're even throwing some Diablo in there. I love that there's more ways to engage with these characters and play this game, and I'm just really, really excited to try it. I haven't been this excited for a new mode or something in the game in a while, and just the fact that it's coming, they're throwing effort into this kind of stuff, showing that they really do love Hearthstone, and they're not letting it, just fade away, dying game, right? Like they're adding to this. They're making it this bigger and better thing all the time, and that makes me really happy for the future of the game, and something I'm really happy to be a part of in this community. So thank you to the team.
Nice. Very cool. What about you, Sheep? Anybody that you would like to shout out before we end the show tonight?
Absolutely. So I would like to shout out our good friend Schmoopy Daddy. So from subbing in for me for this week's Wild THL match, to providing me with the aggro druid list that I was playing just, this pretty much most of this season so far. Schmoopy Daddy has been the real MVP for me this week, as he is many weeks. So many thanks to you, exalted father of the superlative Schmoopy. So, shout outs to Schmoopy Daddy.
Very, very good. All right. Well, Goliath, you get the final word tonight. Is there anybody that you would like to shout out before we wrap up the show?
So much in particular, except I'd like to give a huge thank you to all of you guys for letting me on the show time and time again. I enjoy being here just as much as you say you like having me on. This is talking about something that I love, and I guess a shout out again to the Out of Cards website, who was kind of my first big foray into getting into the real community aspect of Hearthstone. Gave me some great writing experience that actually helped to get the job that I have now, and they're constantly as I said, expanding and hopefully even going to cover even more games. Like if you like Magic or Legends of Root and Tara, there's stuff over there for that too. So again, I'd just like to give a shout out to the Born to Be Wild and Out of Cards communities. You guys have both the communities have been so great for getting me into the community aspect for a game that I would have just done by myself otherwise, pretty much.
Nice.
Awesome.
Hey, wiser words were never spoken. You heard that on Born to Be Wild.